For the most part, though, I was working with, like, the crossbow.
Same.
But I have unlocked the handgun. I didn't do the first, like, makeshift one because it said it was, like, a one-shot, and it's like, no, I'm trying to get to a thing with a clip. So I finally got to a thing with a clip, and I'm like, good.
And I understand the limitations of the basic crates.
Oh,
but
sure.
You get that in a lot of survival crafting games.
Yeah.
And then as you unlock more tech, you get access to bigger storage.
Sure.
But sometimes the bigger looking storage is not what it looks like on the inside.
Right.
It's smaller on the inside.
It's smaller on the inside. It's reverse Doctor
In this
Who.
case, it's smaller on the inside.
You don't, like, smack them with...
Actually, no. I want to walk that back. Some Pokemon do shoot. Blastoise has 2 freaking cannons coming out of its
Blastoise.
shell.
Yeah, that's true. They're water cannons, though.
Alex, do you see the wild KlaytonCalix over there? It looks really powerful.
Should probably beat him up.
No, don't beat him up. Do you have a Pal Sphere on you?
I got, no. Don't. Sorry.
Well, see, you... Okay, I need to find a Pal Sphere. Wait, I have a Pal Sphere. Oop. Oh, it escaped. Damn. Hold on.
This will look really good with all the CGI we've got.
Oh, yeah. No, I spent... My whole budget went into this intro. Oh, I caught Clayton. I caught KlaytonCalix. KlaytonCalix, I choose you.
Oh man, it's been a long time coming, hasn't it, gentlemen?
Yes, it certainly has. It certainly has.
Probably been about a year and some change, maybe?
Probably.
So, I mean, maybe. Something like that.
It's been 1,000 years. Yeah.
It's been 84 years.
It's been 84 years since the Great War. The reason that you're with us today is because this is a very Palworld special. That we are going to be doing today, discussing a whole bunch of things about the internet's favorite game right now. And we've all been playing it.
Sure, if you're listening to this, you've probably been playing it too.
Yes.
Probably close to 150 plus hours between the 3 of us.
Yep, sounds about right. And then when you add in like Datum and Crave and all of that, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot through all of us, so... I think that we should probably get into the good, the bad, and the ugly, which just so happens to be the 3 segments we're doing today. Isn't that great? That works out well. I wanted to start by doing some positive stuff and talking about...
Positive is good.
Yeah, I think so, because let's face it, we didn't spend all this time playing the game because we hate it. I don't tend to hate play things. I don't know about everybody else, but...
No, if I don't like a game, I generally go, well, I'm gonna refund this real fast.
Yeah, get it out of your hair.
Kind of the same, but usually it's with the demos, and I record a lot of videos for them for Steam Next Fest. And the ones I don't enjoy, I just delete the videos. I'm not going to spend 30 minutes trashing a game just because it's a demo.
Right. Demos, I usually will give a little bit of benefit of the doubt, just because it's not a finished product.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can always jump into next Steam Next Fest because a lot of them update their games between fests.
It's true.
And that's one of hitting on demos as well. Early access games tend to change quite a bit sometimes as well. And since we are here talking about Palworld today, it is in early access. And considering the launch that this game has had and the general mostly bug-free nature of it, like there are not any major glaring game-breaking. Like, this is not a Bethesda game.
No, it's not. No. I've encountered a few things, but it wasn't like the game just shut down or or soft locked on me or anything like that.
Yeah. So considering that it's an early access launch and it's got as minimal bugs as it does, that's a pretty solid win right there.
It is.
And not only that, to pull the curtain back a little bit, as we're recording this game's only been out for 8 days.
Yeah.
And this game has taken the world by storm.
Yes.
Honestly, I could probably say without a shadow of a doubt, much harder than Among Us did.
Yeah.
And that game's been out for much longer before it blew up.
Yeah, that game wasn't new
it was
when
out
it got...
years before it
Exactly.
It was out years. Second highest concurrent player count too.
Yes.
Of all time.
Its current highest player count is a little over 2 million.
Yep.
And
Which is
in
just
Steam,
bonkers to me.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, no, that's insane. And that was set on like Tuesday,
Yeah.
which is midweek.
Yeah.
And those are just Steam numbers. Like, we don't know
Yeah.
between other platforms.
That's the thing. It also came out on Game Pass, so anyone who has Game Pass, chances are they're playing it over there, either on PC or Xbox. And the number of people that have that are in the tens of millions. So we don't really know how many people are actually playing it over there.
The other side note, too, that's interesting is that PlayStation 5 players are all demanding that
it
they
be
get
over there.
Palworld.
Yeah.
There are news articles saying that PlayStation players are up in arms over this, which
Yeah.
is hilarious to me.
You know what I think it would be funnier is if you had Nintendo fans that were like, we need this on Switch.
No, the Nintendo fans are all up in arms that this looks too much like Pokemon, but we'll get into that later.
That's in the...
I wouldn't be surprised if some modder was able to port this game to the Switch.
Oh, yeah. That'd be interesting.
Who knows if Nintendo would let them do that, though.
That's going to be an interesting one. Although, I guess we can get into that in a later segment, too.
So we're talking about the good stuff right now.
We're talking about
the
the good
positives.
stuff. Yeah.
The good stuff.
In addition to just the sheer numbers of concurrent players, and I think it's at over 5 million downloads now. If I
Over
remember.
8 million
Oh, no.
units
8.
sold.
8 million.
8, sorry.
And those are just Steam numbers.
That's
Yeah.
Steamball.
And when you consider this as a $30 title at
Yeah.
full cost, and it was sold at 10% discount on Steam for the first week
Mm-hmm.
for $26.99, I think Clayton did the math the other day when it was only like 5 or
I'll
6
do it again
million.
right now.
Yeah, do that math again for us really quick.
The 8 million
Mm-hmm.
at the $26.99 introductory price,
Yes.
you're looking at almost $216 million.
Yeah.
This is a Japanese company, as we all agree on, and we
Mhm.
know. So this is USD.
That's true.
This is 216 million US.
One of the things I was listening to was that the guys behind it, Pocket Pair, did not want to cut any expenses for the game. They were like, we're going to make this game and we're not going to cut any of the expenses for it. We're just going to make it what we want and spend the money because the guy that's behind it does some other stuff too. Like the director of that company. But I believe they said it cost them about 6 million USD to make the game.
Still not bad at all, considering what a lot of games cost to make. Yeah. Like Baldur's
And
Gate 3
so-
cost like 100
And not only
million.
that, it's not
Yeah.
something you hear very often where a studio will say they're going to cut no expense and leave anything on the cutting room floor.
Right. And it's not a very large company either. It's
No,
it's very new.
it's really not.
Only has a few
And
games that they made.
It's not that new. It's newer than like companies you would consider established companies, obviously. But like Crave and I had played their previous game, Craftopia, which we didn't realize was the same company until
Mhm.
I had been looking and just kind of curious, and I was like, "Oh, it's the
Was
same
it just
company."
the other night you told me that too?
Yeah, and so we had played that when we first got together because it was like, oh, there's this game. It looks kind of interesting. It's crafting, and you could catch some animals in that as well. You could catch villagers in that. It's very similar to what they're doing here, but there's a lot more the pals. There's a lot more of those instead of the giraffes and actual animals that were in Craftopia.
Yeah.
So it seems
Craftopia's
like-
didn't really work for me, but yeah.
Yeah, it seems like they took everything they learned from Craftopia and just took it to the next level and broke the
Definitely.
ceiling while they were at it.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which
before
is-
then, have either of you heard of Palworld? Like either this year or sometime last year?
Oh,
like,
I had.
Yeah.
I had it
how
on.
much
I
of
had-
it did you hear about?
I had it on my wish list because I wanted to track it. I had seen some of the early release footage, and I had basically seen it, and I was like, did they put guns in Pokemon's hands? And then my thought process was, I gotta keep a track of this because I need to find out if they actually get to release this thing and what it's gonna be when they do. I just
I
need
think I
to
might
know.
have seen.
Yeah.
I think I might have seen like a trailer or some still images from it, and then I just filed it away in the back of my mind, and I forgot about it because there's so many other games, and you just move on as
Oh,
content
yeah.
creators.
Yeah, Yeah.
It's difficult.
I had put it on my ignore list on Steam, I think, because I kept getting it in like discovery queues or something like that. I'm like, this game's not out, has no release date, and like it looks dumb. That's what my initial thought was. I was like, I've tried so many creature collecting games and survival
Yeah.
crafting games that seeing it just at face value, I went, I don't think this is something I would like.
Right. I was worried.
Did it exceed your expectations in that?
Yeah, it's much better than I thought it would be.
I was worried it was going to be a meme. That was my big thing.
Is.
It's like
it is a meme, but it is not a scam.
Therein lies the thing.
As far as we know right now, as of today.
Well, here's, I guess we're doing the good. So I'll say that they've that since I started playing, when I was like, seems like there's some glitches in here. They've done it, like, I think at least 2 pretty significant updates to it already that have fixed some of the things that I had a problem with immediately. So they do seem to be updating it. One of the things that happened to me early on, because I was playing on a controller, was that the context buttons were just showing up as blank boxes. So I didn't know what buttons to even hit. And in an update they have fixed that, so now I know what I'm actually supposed to hit when I do that. So they've been responsive.
I can tell you from playing Craftopia and having it in my library for the last 3 years that they do continually update even that.
That's good. That's good.
Like when that game originally, when we had played it, it was instance islands. You would teleport to a different island, and then sometime this last year, they updated to a seamless map, which is essentially what they're using in Palworld. I assume they're doing that was also part of them having developed it for Palworld.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Because that's what I said. I said it makes sense that they were going from the like single island maps to a giant seamless open world. If they were developing the technology for another game, they might, like, using what they learned from Craftopia, it would make sense to do it for both games if they're similar.
I would say for me that Palworld really scratches an itch for me that I really haven't been able to scratch since Valheim. Like, I get all the elements out of Valheim, plus all the capture elements, and actually having basically your own village of creatures.
Yeah.
And that is something I've heard other people say as well. Not necessarily the Valheim part, but like I was listening to the Firelink podcast the other night at work, which is the guys over at Second Wind. And they were talking about it with a couple other guys, and someone's like, I didn't even like Pokemon, and I didn't like survival crafting, and I don't really like Pokemon that much, but holy shit, this game is scratching some kind of itch I didn't know I had.
Right.
Because they really took all these great elements from different games that we can all rattle off.
Oh, yeah.
That we've either played or know of.
And
they basically just smashed everything into one game.
Yeah. I think that's really the thing. To that point as well, I think the itch that you're getting scratched is a similar itch to what maybe a lot of people that are not necessarily Nintendo stands or have Nintendo systems are experiencing, because if you were a fan of something like Pokemon, there haven't been a lot of things to replace it. There was like Temtem and those kinds of things.
A few games that are trying to do what Pokemon does, but don't really capture that same energy or same vibe.
Yeah.
Temtem, for instance, I did tried it for a while, and it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I get that. The thing that's interesting, though, about Palworld, though, is that for everybody who says it's too much like Pokemon, not in structure for the game itself. Because there's a lot of things that you really like about it. One, I like that actually your combat and even the catching devices, it's all in real time. It's all when you're playing the game. It's no turn-based combat, no special screens. So it feels much more interactive, where you're trying to, hold on to, target the creature and throw the ball and see if it hits. and watch in real time as it starts to become the capture rate and gets up to 100. You get to experience that. And then you also get this fun part where if you like survival crafting games, or if you've played any before, you get to do that, but with a landscape that will remind you of kind of Breath of the Wild, and with monsters that will kind of remind you of Pokemon, and that adds to a whimsy, like a certain charm to it that you don't usually see in a lot of survival crafting games. You don't get that in, like, Ark, even, or Rust. You know, those seem very dour and depressing a lot of the times.
I've seen a bunch of people say that that Palworld reminds them of Ark, and I, as someone who tried to play Ark and hated it, do not see the comparison.
It's on my wish list, but I've never picked it up when we're talking about Ark.
I mean, it's free.
Yeah. But to go back to your catching these pals in real time, you're not just depending, because it's all situational.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you're not fighting just one at a time, and you're trying to catch the one you want.
Yeah.
There's a big mammoth that roams around in different zones, and there's
Mm-hmm.
even a boss one. And I fought 3 at once, just trying to capture one. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that fight was wild.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're just trying to focus on not dying, while trying to whittle down the other 2, and either knock them both out, or you just focus on one.
Couple pals that are fighting with some of the human NPCs, the syndicate thugs and whatnot, and so you'll have like 3, 4, 5 a camp of thugs plus like 4 pals, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and then you got to make the decision of, okay, do I? They're gonna beat down this pal pretty quickly if I don't stop them, so I can slow them down, and if I want this pal, I can go after it too, because they've already done the work for me.
Oh yeah.
I just murder everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I normally do.
Yeah, just get everybody. You can do that. And it usually works.
It's easy loot.
Yeah, it is. I like the idea that the characters in the game are interacting with each other that way, and that you never really know the positioning of things when you get into even areas that you've been to before. You end up with different kinds of encounters, and just some really interesting random moments. Those mammoths that you mentioned before, one time they just ended up wandering through my camp, and I was just like, what's going on? And then all of my pals decided to attack it, and then I ended up in this big fight where they all got knocked out because Big Man.
Happened.
Yeah.
That happened in our base too, and we had to set up the bell so they don't interact with them. They don't defend the base during that.
Yeah.
Because those mammoths can cause a massive amount of damage.
Oh yeah.
And I'd rather just let them wander through than just mess everything up.
Oh
Because
sure.
when they got into a fight with all my pals, they knocked out like half of the pals. And I was like, all right, now I gotta swap them out. Because now I lost 6 farmers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you'll be lucky if they don't destroy your base while they're at it.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes in the wild, you can get lucky. You see them fighting each other, and you're just like, I'm gonna sit back and watch. I'm gonna wait till they get a little bit low, and then I'll tag them and try and capture them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I will say, I don't know if either of you had played Scarlet or Violet for Pokemon, or Pokemon Legends Arceus.
No, I did not.
Both
I think
of
Black
those...
2 and White 2 were the last ones I played.
So
Oh no, Sun
I
and Moon.
have...
Sun and Moon, I'm sorry.
That's fair. I have both of those. Like Pokemon Legends Arceus was actually pretty fun for what it was doing, and it was more of an open world kind of thing. But you didn't have to. It was a little too easy, I think, as well, because you didn't have to like weaken the Pokemon to catch them for a lot of it. It was just kind of like, oh, Pokemon's a new thing. You can make them your friends, whatever, catch them and whatnot. But it had the open world elements to it that are fun, that you guys were talking about. But again, it was not quite the same thing. Like, you're not attacking them yourself. You're not pulling out a gun and shooting things. It is very different. The biggest issue I have with those games comes down to the fact that they are on the Switch.
Right.
And
Right.
that is the most limiting part of those games, is that they are on a piece of hardware that does not have the ability to support the game in what it should be.
Yeah. again, that's kind of one of the reasons I think Palworld hits so well, is because it's not on Switch. It's on PC. People can play it on their PC.
Yeah, I can play it at 144 frames per second as per my refresh rate on my monitor, and I'm not struggling.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Switch is generous at 30 frames per second sometimes.
On that note, like, we have a tendency to talk about this in terms of, like, Pokemon. I think that it's also worth talking about it in terms of a little bit like more Breath of the Wild for the traversal part, for the exploration part, because that's the look and the feel that I was getting from it when you get to actually traverse the world, which I actually very much enjoy, especially once you get like flying mounts and stuff. Happens far sooner in this than I think in a lot of games do. Where you get to actually like climb up these giant hillscapes, and I have a specific bird that is my glider now, and you get to like traverse over really long chasms with them. They do a really good job.
The views you can get from those spaces are just phenomenal.
Oh
like,
yeah.
For you, it's Breath of the Wild. For me, I equate that to playing New World, because I played that when it first launched.
Okay.
And I played that game ad nauseum. That's how much I enjoyed it. And I stopped playing World of Warcraft for a couple of months because of that game.
It does feel like the environment is a lot more immersive with you. Whether it's not necessarily with the soundscapes, because as we get to the bat, I'll probably touch on some of that.
Me too.
But the amount of things that are there in the world, and the way that the monsters interact with each other and the other players, and say, I found a wandering merchant that was getting attacked by thugs, maybe, I think, or pals, and I saved them, and they're like, hey, you got here in the nick of time, thanks.
Yeah. It feels much more of a living environment. I think the last time, actually, that I really saw a game that tried to do that was probably even Skyrim. Like, that idea of having a world where it's all just kind of happening around you, and then you enter into it to be an almost disruptive force in this ecosystem that has been built for you. That's the kind of experience that I was getting from it. We probably should not forget to mention that there are indeed guns.
So, do either of you use firearms yet in this game?
Yes.
Yes. For the most part, though, I was working with, like, the crossbow.
Same.
But I have unlocked the handgun. I didn't do the first, like, makeshift one because it said it was, like, a one-shot, and it's like, no, I'm trying to get to a thing with a clip. So I finally got to a thing with a clip, and I'm like, good. Finally, you get... The problem was that I was running out of ammo really quickly, so I'm actually back with a bow because I had so many arrows.
I use a direwolf as my main pal.
Yeah.
And I power level a bunch of other pals with me up to a certain level, and then I recycle them into the box and bring out new ones. I use him with my crossbow, and I save more arrows now because I'm usually riding him, because you can use his abilities while you're riding them.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is
That's
absolutely amazing. It's such a great feature to have. I wish more games had that, like your World of Warcraft and your New Worlds, you know. It is really refreshing to have that, and you can be like, I'm farming for like the elemental glands, so I gotta kill certain fire creatures, or certain water creatures, or certain electric creatures. I can just run up to them, use his ability, mow them down, save an arrow.
Right.
If there's multiple targets, I can use his ability to use one and hit the other one with the crossbow bolt.
Right.
Have you either of you ridden the deer?
No, I have not.
No, but someone in our group does ride the Ecthyr deer.
Yeah.
As their ground mount.
It is brutal.
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
Because the charge attack it's got, it's far, it's fast, it's far, and it flings them.
Oh.
When you attack.
I would hate to be on the receiving end of that.
Yeah, it's a brutal one. It's not as fast as the direwolf, but it is brutal.
I was thinking, I wonder if I can do this, and it turns out you can. You can prep your pal sphere in your one hand and like hold it on your target, and you can fling other abilities while you have that targeted and see the percentage go up, and then you can let it go. Yeah, I found this out. I was like, hey, I wonder, and I'm like holding it down so that your pal sphere is here, and then you can use the monster's attacks while you're riding on it, and you can see the health go down and your percentage chance go up, and then when it's in the place you want it, then you can throw it while it's basically equipped.
I did not know that was a thing.
Yeah. Try it.
Usually when I try, I think I might have actually tried that once, and my character got stuck like that. Like you permanently holding and throwing.
Or you just
Powerball
swap
after
out your
Powerball.
weapons.
If you,
no, even then. And then
Oh.
you mentioned, I think you mentioned, because you were watching my stream the other night when I was doing it, just jump off the mount. I actually did that off stream, and it did not work.
Oh, well.
I actually had to exit out and reload the game.
Rip.
Shoot.
Go to sleep. Sleep in the bed.
Sleep in the bed.
I hadn't tried that. That would be
yeah.
a good one to try too, to see if that works as a workaround. It's an 8-day-old game.
Exactly.
It's gonna have bugs.
Yeah.
And it's early access.
Other thing that I wanted to mention too, the base building. I
yes,
think
please.
a lot of the base building mechanics are probably going to be very familiar for people if they've played any kind of survival crafting. What I really liked, though, is the ability to use the pals to do different tasks around the base, which is not something I always see in survival crafting. And it takes a minute for you to get used to it, but then you're like, oh, I get it. There's different tasks that can be done at different workshop posts, and those have different ratings for different monsters. And so I know that, for cooking, I need to get fire types, because fire types can do kindling abilities. So now I gotta see if I can find some of those to do that. And so that ended up being like a little loop in itself for me of figuring out
it too.
Yeah, what kind of pals do I need here in order for me to get this to work properly so that I don't come back and everything's still just on the stove because nobody knows how to cook for shit.
Why are all my plants not doing anything and sitting there? Oh,
yeah.
I don't have anyone that's planting
Can't
or
water. You can't water anybody. Why is it that I don't have any wool? Oh, right, I forgot. I don't have any wool producing pals in the place, so I gotta do something about that. Why is it that they're harvesting so much wood but no stone anymore? Oh, right, I had to trade some people out. So so that's like a whole managerial task inside of the game that you find out about fairly early on and then just keep expanding upon, which I think is just very interesting and much more interesting than how most survival crafting games do it, which is just you gotta go back to camp and use all of the crafting stations and do stuff, you know?
The thing I like is that they will also both defend your base while they're in there, which is nice because if people come to attack, which happens a lot in survival games, your base will get attacked and you're out there and who's going to defend it? They will defend it, and you can get guns and machine guns and crossbows to help them defend it.
Right.
The other thing I think is nice that if you're in base while they're doing these tasks that they just do, like they're planting, they're harvesting, they're watering, you will gain passive XP.
Yes. Yeah, you will.
Yes.
Yeah. And so do the ones that are in the base too. They gain levels too.
Yeah. I would say that I really enjoy the base building for this game. Does it need work? Absolutely.
Yeah.
There are certain pieces that I hope that they add in the future that would really flesh out and round out certain base building types that we do. Like you don't have corner pieces or 90-degree pieces yet.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that they add that in the future.
Right.
I do like the managerial system that they added for the bases. Your pals can basically live their best lives.
Yep.
Running around, crafting, gathering, planting, watering, sleeping.
Freezing.
But you also have to take care of them too. Like you can't just be like, oh, I'm gonna put a bunch of pals in a base, let them go off, and I'm gonna just run off and do whatever I want for the rest of my life. No, they'll eventually get lazy. They could run out of food if they're not bringing enough food, and you're not bringing enough food for them when you go out for whatever you do. And not only that, they can get injured. They can get incapacitated. They can get sick. You have to have
get depressed.
medicine for them. Yeah, they can get depressed.
We haven't even talked about the sanity meter. They all have a sanity meter on them.
Which I think is actually a really unique thing that they added to the game too. Like you have that in games like Don't Starve.
Yeah.
Where you have the sanity meter, and if you go crazy enough, then you see the shadow monsters in that game.
Right.
But for this one, they just become less productive. And it's all about managing managing the good with the bad in your base. You build relaxing stations for them. You build that water pond for them. When you get better materials for crafting, cooking food, you can make food that decreases sanity at a slower rate and stick it in their food bins.
All of a sudden, it becomes like Roller Coaster Tycoon or something, where it's like, now I have to do the management. Yeah, a little bit.
I mean, in a sense, but it feels more of a hands-off management style to me, where it's like, you set up the stuff, you set up the station, you set up your certain pals. You're probably going to want to focus on gathering pals in your base instead of workstation pals, especially in the early going. Because if you're just in the base yourself, maybe you're dropping off, you're organizing your bags, you can toss one of your pals out to help and work at a crafting station.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you while you're streaming the other day. I'm like, I usually throw someone out while I'm in base to do some extra tasks.
Yeah.
It's like you're sitting there building a bed and some other stuff in there, and like, you got someone with handiness, just toss them out and let them build.
Let them build. I also really appreciate that, like, if you say I'm going to be building something, you put something down, all the pals that can actually build will just drop what they're doing to come and do that and just fix it so that you can just get it built.
I'm going to be honest, that is a really wholesome thing to watch them do.
Oh, they all come and help. Yeah, they all come and help.
I will say,
when they complete it, how happy they look, and they all look at you.
They're so pleased. I will say I want to touch on that part as well again in the bad part.
Okay.
Slightly, just tangential to it.
But I did want to also mention, I know it's the thing that ended up being the most controversial part, but honestly, I did want to put in the positive about monster design. I think that overall, the monster designs were pretty good, and the style works for me. I think that it actually looks very expressive. A lot of those characters look very expressive, and I think that they did a good job. The fire types especially, I really like the angular design that they did for them. It is very reminiscent of something like Pokemon, but the designs that they have are nice designs. They don't look half-assed as designs. That's the thing.
Wouldn't necessarily agree with that 100%. Some of them look like they could have used a little bit more work on the drawing board. But for the most part, I overwhelmingly agree with you for the most part.
Right.
That they got a lot of good designs to them.
There's a few where you're like,
you can say that it looks like it either is copied or took inspiration from Pokemon. But you could say that about almost any other creature for any other game.
Right.
What is the most common creature that you see in monster games? The slime.
Electric mouse.
And how many variants do you see of slime in a lot of different games?
That's true. That's true.
We'll talk about that a little bit more in the last segment too, I think. So
Right. But I wanted to just touch on the fact that I think that overall I liked the style and the look of the monsters, and I think that it works for the game.
And they got some really interesting ones that come out, especially during the nighttime. If you happen to play during night instead of just sleeping, like you normally would in games like this. With like, you should go to sleep to make a day. No. Maybe in the beginning, sure, until you get set up enough and you want to brave the night. Because there are some really interesting creatures that come out at night. My favorite one is probably the Daydream.
Oh, yeah. That's a nice.
I have a lucky Daydream.
The Depresso that roams around.
Some of the names for it I thought were easy.
If you watch Depresso when Depresso is mining,
oh my god.
Depresso looks so uninterested and feels like they would rather be doing something else than just picking at a rock slowly.
I pointed that out the other day because we had one on base that was mining, and I just started laughing and I looked at the girlfriend and I said, "Could you look at this Depresso mining for a minute?" And she just kind of looked over. She's like, "Oh my god."
Which makes me want to go out and get other creatures that can mine and do stuff and just see how they engage with the environment that you built for them.
Yeah. And I think that that's the other thing, too, when I'm talking about character design, is that the way that they were designed lets them be very expressive when you set them to tasks and when they do things. And you really see them be angry or depressed or mad at you or downtrodden.
Yeah,
that they have a lot of personality.
I feel like the pals all definitely have personality to them.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Grintails?
Yeah, I have one. I have the Grintail.
Their eyes actually light up when there are enemies nearby,
Mm-hmm.
it's in the description of them, but it actually does it. It's not just we added a description, it's a thing that we're gonna say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, their eyes will glow.
That's really cool.
And they're just, I have one, they all they do is gather, so they just kind of lumber around base all gritty and just kind of dopey looking, but then they're like, ooh, time to gather. Boom, boom, boom.
Yep. Yeah.
And they're just so happy. And it's like, that one's so silly, because you can ride it too.
Yeah.
And it's just ridiculous. But that thing reminds me of a cross of Cheshire Cat meets like My Neighbor Totoro.
Yes. Yeah, no, you're right. That does have a certain stylistic part.
Yeah.
It's great that they have these personalities. It really just gives more to that living, breathing environment that you're playing in.
Yeah.
Well, the world just doesn't feel static around you. It absolutely feels alive.
Right. It makes the whole experience feel a lot more vibrant and alive, and just even the color palettes that they use that really make it, because so many times, I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've played a few survival crafting games in my time, and so many of them really love the color beige. Like, they really love this, because they're mostly set in, like, these kind of, like, dystopic worldscapes where it's harsh and it's rough, and it usually ends up becoming just desert and rocks and just worn down dirty buildings that nobody's lived in for like 50 years, and it kind of just looks depressing and drab most of the time, and that's definitely not a word I would use for Palworld's landscape. It's very alive.
Lush island.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of survival games fall into that trap of doing it, but I think the game that does the best with it would again be Don't Starve. Because that's literally built in the entire environment of the game.
Yes.
And how much it's changed and grown over the years. Like, you could jump in and jump out of that game months at a time, and no two plays are going to be the same, because you're going to approach it differently each time. And I kind of feel like it'll be the same with Palworld too, because if you join community servers, or if you join your own world or a friend's world, you got to start over from level 1. Your approach might be different going into each world. And I really like that. I like that you don't bring in a souped up character like you would in Terraria and just mow everything down like it's nothing. I like that you have to start over again.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like about that is the fact that I have stuff on my solo playthrough that I would love to be able to be like, I want to show you this pal, and I want to trade him to you, and so we can breed him on a different playthrough.
Yeah. Yeah.
That'd be interesting if they added something like that into the game where you could trade between worlds. There's maybe like a console or something.
Sure.
Because Pokemon has the GTS. I don't know if that's still a thing these days. But
I think so, but who knows?
Yeah.
But that's how you could trade with random players around the world.
Yeah.
Right. If you did something like the vaults that they had in like Borderlands, where you put all your guns and your shields and everything, you put them all into the vault, and if you pick up any other character and you play it on your account, you just go to the vault and it's all there.
I think that would be okay if it was just a PAL vault.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
not
I don't
for
think
items.
being able to trade like guns and armor, I don't think that'd be okay.
It would also work for the PALs because they level adjust even if they're higher levels. So
yeah,
so that's why that would be okay.
Yeah,
I think we've praised Palworld a bit enough currently. Right. I think we need to move on to things that are maybe not as great about Palworld.
Oh boy, I guess it is about that time. So
strap in, folks.
Strap in, because now we're gonna get spicy now.
We're gonna get into the nitty gritty of it now.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So the bad.
Bad.
Where do we start?
At the bad.
Okay. So Alex, I think that you probably wanted to touch on this a little bit too, but I wanted to talk a little bit about the audio, voice acting and ambient music. And the basic lack of those things entirely.
I didn't realize that there was no real ambient music in the background of the game, because I usually turn that down anyways when I play games.
Yeah.
Because I watch something on the side. But one of my coworkers is playing it, is the one thing I can't stand is there's no music.
it was really jarring when I first got there, and it's like they open up on the beach, and then you're not actually on the beach, you're way away from the beach when you actually get in there. But then, like, it's just quiet. There's just nothing. And I was like, what's going on?
Which I get from the basis of, I don't know if a lot of survival crafting games, aside from like Minecraft, have a ton of music going on. If you're in the wilderness, it's kind of like, you hear wilderness sounds, which is okay.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like a game with the amount of whimsy and humor and style and emotion as Palworld brings to the table could do with at least a light kind of thematic track for the environment you're in.
Does Palworld really not have music in it? I mean, I play with sound on, but I'm trying to think. I'm really struggling to think right now. Like, I think it does have music. It's just not loot.
When you get into combat, there will be like combat music that comes in. But most of the time when you are in the game, there will be a few little background sounds. And I do have to even say some of the Foley work that's there, I was like, I was in one of the caves, and you hear the dripping of the water, and it's like bloop, bloop, bloop. Yep. It's like so very tinny and obvious, and I'm like, oh no, the footstep sounds and stuff. It's like, this, I don't know about that, Chief.
I mean, for the caves, because I've explored a handful of dungeons, I actually don't mind that. I guess while it is bad that they don't have enough audio, music composition, that's something that needs to be worked on. But I don't think that this game absolutely needs it, based on the hours I put in so far. Like, if there was no music in caves, I get it, but you just have the environment of the sounds around you, or maybe something eerie to complement the environment around. I think that would be the hard part for them, if they're not already working on music, is to find the right music that wouldn't drown out the environment in the background, the living area that you're living in, but complement that area. You know, when you play games like Don't Starve, the new day starts, and there's like that little music that plays in the beginning when the day starts.
Right.
And then that music fades away, and then there's really no audio, there's no music through that. There's combat music, and then that also fades away.
I think what happened for me is, when I'm talking about, like, the ambient sound and music and everything, I think it's a little jarring, because the game that I had just played before I did that, was the remake for Dead Space. And if you're familiar with Dead Space at all, especially with the remake, that game is all about the ambient. It's like it's constantly around you, the clanging, the distant screams and everything, and the
Dead Space
sound.
Needs to be.
Yes.
Because it's a horror game.
Right.
And I think that works for a game like that. Like, having soundscapes like that isn't good for every single game. It's very situational.
Right. It could have just used something more, I think. I like, when I started playing Palworld, it just felt very devoid when it came to the actual sound design. It felt very, very sparse. And when you have a world that they've set up that's vibrant like this, I kind of felt like there might be something a little bit more whimsy in it. And then, as I said, it's like lack of voice acting. There is some. There's like mostly that the characters make sounds. Aha! Ooh!
Yeah, that's not a necessary one. That is one of the things that anytime we play a game like that, Crave will say, I absolutely hate when characters make a sound for every action they do.
Yeah. Or when you open a chest and you hear the little do-do-do-do-do-do, like the Zelda things.
That doesn't bother me. Those little things are fine.
Yeah, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do some Final Fantasy.
I don't know. I guess I'm not on the same with you two about this. I don't really see that as a bad. It's not necessarily good, I'll give you that, but I don't 100% think it's bad.
Huge bad.
It's not bad.
It's not a huge negative. Could it have sounds in the background? Yes. Do I think it absolutely needs it? Maybe not. You know, if the music environment plays for a while, especially like maybe in the first quarter of the day, and just fades away, and it just becomes like some background noise that you don't really notice because you're focusing on the environment around you, I think that'd be okay. I don't feel like I necessarily need as much as I enjoy the music of video games.
Yeah,
sure.
I don't think I absolutely need, especially with all the I think what it could use more is more sound environment around it. I feel like that's kind of lacking a bit.
Yes.
I think it needs more ambiance of the creatures around you and the sounds, like your cave tripping, you know,
or the waterfalls that you're nearby,
or waterfalls, waves lapping up against the shore, things like that. I think if it had more sounds like that, it would be people probably would be more okay with it not having as much music composition.
I think what could make up for that entirely is if they added weather systems into the game.
That would be nice.
That would be a game changer for that game.
Because then it would set different moods. You could also tie different PAL spawn rates to the weather pattern that's going on right now. Sunny weather would be more grass and more fire. Nighttime obviously is currently more dark. Rainy could be more wet and frozen, etc. But tying a weather system in there, which would have to be its own system they'd make, but like if they did that, it would also give them ample soundscapes to go with. You know, it's a hot day, so there's a light breeze. It's a rainy day, so there's thunder and lightning maybe, or there's storms, maybe it's cloudy. Adding in some kind of weather system would make it so you don't really need any music in the game. You can just go with what the active environment sounds like. And I do understand why you wouldn't want to necessarily add ambient animal sounds like birds to the game a whole lot, because let's face it, there are pals, there are not animals, kind of like how it would. We're going to use a comparison. Kind of like in Pokemon, there are only Pokemon and there are no non-Pokemon animals.
Right. Yeah, and I would say you'd go and find them. You'd be like, oh, there's a bird sound, I gotta go find. Yeah,
I would say on the environment thing, the problem I have with the environment of the game, and I haven't really explored the hot and cold areas yet. I'm starting to a little bit. I'm working my way in there. But my biggest problem is, and I'm sure that there are type elements, like we all know there's type elements for them, but like the weakness and stuff for the creatures in Palworld. What bothers me the most is you see fire creatures walking in the water, when if that's supposed to be the weakness, you would think that they would, I don't know, maybe avoid swimming in the water.
Right.
You know, like I think they shouldn't be going in the water, or if they are chasing to the water, they should be trying to like run out of the water.
Yeah.
Or if you have an electric creature walk in the water, maybe he zaps the area. You know, I haven't. That's my big issue. Like I've seen so many of the fire creatures just walk around in the water like it's nothing. Their tail's on fire.
Right.
And what happens when you put fire in water? It extinguishes. You would think that they would knock themselves out by going into the water.
Would be a thing, but I think that a thing to fix that would be one of the things they're working on, which is pathing.
Yeah, pathing
would
help for a lot of stuff.
The pathing is an issue too. Like I've sent you screenshots, Alex, of pals in trees, which honestly I think is hilarious. For some of them, it's just like, how did you get up there? You're supposed to be walking on 4 legs. You're a turtle. How did you get to the top of this?
And can I get you
tree?
Down? That's the thing.
It's like, why are you hungry? Where are you, and what happened to incapacitate you?
Yeah. I mean, if it's a pal that looks like it can walk up there, like, you know, one that walks on 2 legs, sure, I can understand why you would see that one sometimes randomly on a tree.
Right.
But not one that has 4 legs.
Yeah.
If a turtle tried to climb that tree, I would think the tree would just get toppled.
Or if you get up there, get down. There's got to be a way to get down if you got
Actually,
up there.
No, they do.
Unless they're cats. If they're the Grintail and they're a cat, they can get up the tree and not come down, and I'll accept that.
No, they do, because I captured the turtle that I saw up there. I think I might have did it on stream, or I did it off stream. But as soon as I attacked it, it made its way down the tree. Like it was just invisible stairs or something.
Oh, so they're just being jerks. Just staying up there getting hungry.
I think it's
But it makes great for... I mean, I know we're talking on the bad right now, but... Because I wish I brought this up in the good. Right. But it gives me the whole Pokemon Snap vibe. I don't know
sure.
if either of you two played it, but
Yes.
I sank
Yes.
Loved it.
hundreds of hours into that game when it originally came out.
It was so
And I
good.
got very good at taking screenshots in games like this.
Oh, yes.
You know, so it's great to see these issues. And I sent Alex this as well. I'll send it to you as well for the video. But there was a boulder that I found. That half of its face was missing.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, I've seen trees. I don't think I took screenshots of them. I have to go dig. There are trees that are not connected to the ground. I can see underneath the tree if it's high enough, and I can run under it with clearance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are, I think, terrain tearing issues.
Yeah.
And where you're playing on a server.
But it's the same. It would be the same world because it's not procedurally generated worlds.
No, it's definitely the same world. It's not a procedural world. All of us are playing on the same world, and I'm 99% sure of that.
Yes,
But
same
where
map.
you're playing on a server, you have a different allocation of what's going on for the memory. So if there's a bunch of people on the server, I feel like that'll possibly impact that as well, more than it would impact if we're playing solo.
Yeah, I could see that. I'm sure you both have noticed this. If you look up at the sky, you can see the seam that connects the two sections of the sky together.
That's okay. I don't
Yeah.
look at the sky.
I just think they should just add a big zipper at it at this point, and one day, you know.
Yeah, just and you know what comes through it? The moon from Majora's Mask comes through.
Oh, no.
Miss me.
Not really.
That'd be a great,
Yeah.
great nod,
I
and
would-
a very big lawsuit.
I will say that, like, in terms of just technical issues, one of the first things I encountered when I got into one of the caves is you have all the syndicate guys, and I'm fighting them, and I'm just doing handheld because I didn't have any weapons or anything at the time. And for a good portion of it, they weren't really attacking me, or they were just running away into a wall. But then they got stuck behind the walls to the point I could not
they'll get stuck
actually
behind
Yes.
the walls and then the ceiling. And
and I
That
was
happens in the overworld too.
Yeah. It does. Then I got stuck inside of a wall one time, and I had to literally
Yes.
respawn because I couldn't get out. I couldn't get
Right.
back out.
I would say, yeah, that is definitely an issue, especially if you base build. So the way my base build is in our second base, I have this section that I built. It's just for decorative purposes, but it's very much hollow on the inside because I surrounded the outside with walls.
Sure.
Pals somehow constantly get stuck in there, and I have to
Yeah.
go to the pal box. You put them in my inventory, and then drop them back out so that they reset. Because
definitely.
I cannot tell you how many times the small pals get stuck in there, and I go back to the bait, and it goes, "This pal is starving." I'm like, "Gee, I wonder why." Because
Yeah.
somehow you phase through a solid wall
Mm. Yeah.
into the inside of my base.
Yeah.
And now you can't
Yeah.
get out.
No,
Yeah.
I think that is probably one of the biggest issues that I've noticed with it is just the pathing in general
Yeah.
is not the greatest. Is it broken beyond belief? No, it works most of the time pretty well. I want to say, but it is definitely one of the most glaring issues when you're trying to do anything like that, or if you're trying to capture something and it gets stuck in a wall.
Yeah, I think I'm not a game developer, so I can't say, "Oh, this is an easy fix. They just got to change a couple of 1s and 0s." I mean, I think they definitely can fix it, and I believe they will. It's just finding that right balance, because if they do it too much, then the pathing will be either janky or it won't be as good, and they won't patrol as much. Because you could just stand in your base and watch the wildlife roam around you.
Right. Right.
I think it's more just a collision detection thing that would need to be worked on. Again, I also am not a game developer.
Okay, you know
or
what? Yeah,
tech
I
person,
think that's what
so-
I was trying to think of was
Right.
collision detection. I think that would be huge,
Right.
and that would be really good for them.
We're talking about a lot of technical issues. There are some actual design issues, though, that I wanted to address. One of them is actually those dungeons. Getting back to the dungeons. I thought that the dungeons were kind of confusing to go through, and it was very easy to get lost in them, the way that they designed it. It's not like I've been to a few dungeons in some games, and it does seem like they give you some subtle ideas of like how to notice where you're going in from the entranceway, that you're actually going down certain areas and into other ones. And in the dungeons in this one, it's mostly like there's an entranceway, and then if you peer around a couple corners, there's like 3 different directions you go in, and then those split off into a few forks. And
Yeah.
and then you like see, oh, there's a drop off. You go down the drop off, it's not the boss. It's just a chest there that you pick up. It's not intuitive for me.
No.
The way that
Me
they were
either.
designed. Yeah. I don't know if you experienced that, Clayton. I know you've been to quite a few dungeons, but
I do have my issues with it, but I want to hear what Alex's has first before.
My
I
issues
jump
is the
into my issues with the
ADHD
dungeon.
means I don't remember which ones I've been in
Yeah.
until I go back in them, and I'm like, wait, what's? So my approach when I go in a dungeon is to go, let's take the leftmost door first or the
Oh.
rightmost door first, and then go around, and then I come back out and I go, wait, which way am I supposed to go? And I
Yeah.
go and I'm like, no, that's the wrong door. Let's go the other way. And
Yeah.
so without having a mini map in there, it's a lot harder for me to get my direction properly. So that's an issue. I do like that the end of the dungeon after the boss fight has a return to entrance
thank
thing,
God.
because that is a quality of life thing that it
Yeah.
honestly should have. But I feel like the dungeons need to have a wider variety, either more randomized stuff per different dungeons, although I don't think anything with these is really randomized. I think they're all hand created. So a wider variety to the tile set and to the way they are laid out would be nice.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe just a little bit more in them, because it's a couple pals, a couple syndicate thugs usually, at least in the lower level areas that I've been to.
Yeah.
I don't know about the level 29 dungeons yet, because I haven't really done those, because I'm still below that level threshold.
Right.
Um,
Do it.
but I'd like, yeah.
Go for
I
it.
killed a level 31 mammoth earlier at level 24.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah.
Fun
Just
times.
must-
So here's my thing on the dungeons, and I'm gonna go with the good. What I like about the dungeons
Mhm.
is that you can get resources early game
Yes,
that you
is
can't
good.
get until you go to certain other areas that have different temperatures. So you can get sulfur in these dungeons.
Yes.
You can get coal in these dungeons.
Mm.
You can get a lot more paldium, which is a lightweight material, so you're not bogging yourself down, because the other two resources that I mentioned prior are heavy, including the iron, the ore
You
that
just
you
go
get in
into
there.
a dungeon with a party
Yeah.
of Kativa or Lunaris, I think is the one that I have.
Mhm.
It has a levitate thing. It lets you carry like 80 extra pounds.
Oh yeah.
At
the-
base.
no,
Yeah.
And a
So,
bronze cherry,
my
and you
weight-
just go in there with those.
Mhm.
So my weight on my character is currently at 1,000. That was my goal, to have 1,000 weight. So I wanted, because I am a big time farmer. I don't know if
Yeah,
anybody's
right.
noticed
as
this.
you-
I may have mentioned
Nope.
it once or twice.
Mhm.
But I need to have that to be able to just run around, and I can knock out probably 2 ore nodes. I keep calling them copper nodes because they look like copper, and I don't know if they're gonna add other metals in the
Yeah,
game
the
in the
ore.
future.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I usually use those as a great way to get the paldium, because I use a lot of them when you craft spheres.
You don't
Yes.
even
You
craft
know.
spheres anymore.
I still do. I mean, I get them in the world as well, but I craft a bunch as well,
Oh.
'cause I go through them pretty fast.
Oh no,
So-
I have a ranch that's got 3 Vixie in it.
Oh, we have we have that in ours too, but I don't take those. I leave those for other people, because I actually
Fair.
go out and pushing a lot more than them. And that's not a knock on them. It's just
Sure.
That's how you
I know
play.
I put in more hours,
Yeah.
because that's how I play.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
okay, so that's what I enjoy. What I don't enjoy is the dungeons themselves. I
Yeah.
like and then let me break that down into 2 parts. Visually, I believe the dungeons are very beautiful. The designs, the looks, the colors, great. What I don't like is how damn static they are.
Yes.
If you go into enough different dungeons, and I encourage you to mark them on your maps, you know which ones they look like on your icon. There is like different dungeon types, but they're all basically the same rooms. Some have more
Mhm.
rooms, some
Yes.
have less rooms. And I like Alex, I start my dungeons from the left. So I go to the left and I go all the way around. I usually don't go back to the entrance, because usually once you get to the boss, I've already seen what I wanted to see. And I got the boss. I either kill the boss or I capture the boss. One of the two. And then I collect the loot, and then I leave. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna go somewhere else. The dungeon designs themselves, while they're nice, they're too static. I would have thought, depending on the region you go in, it would be more unique looking, in a sense, to that region. Now, I'm only saying that based on what I've experienced. I don't know if dungeons in the fire and the ice zones are any different. But I'm going to go on a
You're
limb
only
and say that
50
they're
hours
probably
in.
the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. but I'm only starting out to go into the hot area, which now I'm
Right.
gonna go make the heat resistant armor so I can go out there. Because I'm wearing metal armor right now, but I don't have heat armor.
Right.
So dungeon design needs a lot of work, and I say this based on someone who's been playing World of Warcraft for over 15 years.
Yes.
The dungeons in there change every expansion.
There are very different dungeons each time you go into any dungeon in WoW.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
I think,
and I do believe that there should be maybe a bit more loot in there. And the respawn rate though in these dungeons are pretty good. It's not like you full clear the dungeon. I don't know about the boss. It's not like you full clear the dungeons in Palworld, and then there's no more mobs that'll spawn like in World of Warcraft. Unless you stay there for like, I don't know, 2 hours or something.
Yeah, if you go back into a room,
if you go back to a room,
there.
there'll be respawns.
Sure.
That actually hits on a point I would like to make from playing their last game, Craftopia. I would like to see more weapon variety, armor variety, and accessories that you can get in this game. There are a bunch of schematics you can get for different hats and stuff, different like variants of the armors you can make, but visually they all look like, aside from the hats, visually the armors all kind of just look the same. And there's not really a big variety of weapons and pickaxes and stuff. Craftopia had a system with suffix and prefix that you could have on any item. So almost like Diablo, but not really quite like Diablo. But you could have a sword that had a prefix that had a like legendary Black Knight's sword, for instance, that would have bonuses to certain things, kind of like your pals have their passive abilities. I would like to see that in here. I know the game is much more focused on what the abilities and passives your pals are, but I would like to see armor and weapons in a larger variety as well. I know the company can do it, has done it, so I would like to see some of that come in here.
I think that'd be nice to see in Palworld. We'll see if they do it, because Craftopia and Palworld are two different games, so they might be wanting to go with a different approach with this. But I do agree that they need more item types. But again, we're talking about a game that came out 8 days ago. It didn't really access.
Right.
But so as it stands right now, there's a healthy amount of items. And so some of the schematics you get, you'll find out like, oh, some of these are better than others, especially when you get the rare ones or the legendary ones.
Right. And like with the guns too, like because we always, it's like Pokemon with guns. But for you getting the guns, it does take a little while, like down the tech tree to actually get to the guns part of it.
Yeah,
I like that actually.
You do.
I like that they don't give it to you right away, because a lot of people thought that you just jump in.
I just need a tease for something. Give me a flintlock or something like somewhat early on.
That's
so
your
that
one-shot
gun. So that but the one-shot gun is like I need to be level 30 or something before I can.
You know what they should add? You know what would be an interesting weapon that they add would be a slingshot.
See, that's something that you could have early on. You could have slingshot just to get past melee. Melee weapons are so many of the early. Before you
your melee weapon is just either your fist, your bat, the pickaxe, or the axe.
Yeah.
Like, your first ranged weapon should be the slingshot before the bow and arrow.
Oh, yeah.
Before the
or
crossbow.
just chuck rocks at people.
Chuck rocks? Chucking rocks would be great, yeah.
That'd be a great way to knock off a bunch of weight. It'd be a great way to, I have too much weight on me, just start chucking minerals at the creatures.
Another, I don't know if you want to touch more on that, but a different thing that I think needs to get worked on that's a minor hassle for me, workflow.
In what sense?
In the sense that a pal in your base can be assigned to a certain task, but they often like to drop whatever task they're doing to go do something else.
Yeah.
Like eat?
Like help with a different task. Oh, I started building a thing. Why did you stop transporting all those berries?
Why are you not in the breeding ranch? I tried to get like two of my pals to be in there, and then they got bored for a minute, and they just started wandering off and decided to.
I mean, the helping you part makes sense that they do. The wandering off and doing other stuff. I mean, look at it as like going to work. If they take a break because they want to go eat, that's like
breaks are fine. Finish the task
then-
you're doing before you do it, please.
Or go back to it. Or go back to it at a certain
Yeah.
point.
Please don't drop berries on the ground and go eat and then go do something else.
Yeah.
But I think it would benefit from because you already have the management screen from your PAL box where you can drop them into the slots in your base. I think there should be a workflow screen for your base where you can assign, like, it will know, like, what tasks you have in your base that they can do, and, like, assign them to it. Be like, I need you to do nothing but freeze things. Please go be a cooler and nothing else. I want to be able to assign them single tasks if I want.
So my way of getting around to that was to specifically have creatures, pals, that do that. Like the little hedgehog dude. I have the ice one. I have a lightning one too, but I have the ice one, and that dude's whole job is to sit in front of the ice box and keep it cool. He doesn't wander off and pick berries, doesn't wander off to water, doesn't wander off to harvest. He'll occasionally wander off to eat and maybe take a nap and enjoy a break. Sure. Because the food's going to stay cold, but that entire time, because the numbers go up drastically if you've looked in your fridge.
Oh yeah.
But there is sort of a system in that, like there is a podium stand that you can craft where you can be more demanding of your pals for a faster sanity drain, of course. So you can basically work them to death if you wanted to.
Yeah, you can turn them into actual slaves.
Yeah, but like I think. Yeah, they do. Like, even if you grab one and pick one up and throw it at a task, not even 2 seconds after what they're doing, they're gonna go and be like, "I want to eat first." Like, okay, but at least work first and then go eat, because I just saw what you were doing before, and you were just loafing around and weren't eating.
Right.
I think that they should focus on the task a bit more when they first start doing it before taking a break, because it feels like it doesn't. Even if you throw them there or they wander there on their own, it feels like they work for a little while and then wander off. It's not like they put in a little bit of time and then wander off.
Yeah. I think even if they didn't create a way that you can just manually assign them to tasks, I feel like you should be able to weight priority of tasks that they do. I know that the Jolt Hog crisp that you were talking about, that I also have doing the same thing, because it's a single task one. We'll just sit at the cooler and just cool, which is fine. But some of these ones that have 2 or 3 skills, or 3 or 4 skills even, but they're good skills, like rank 2, and it's like, alright, I need you just to focus on this one thing, and it kind of wanders off and does something else. Tombat, for instance, has 3 skills at level 2. He's great for all 3 of them, but I don't want him to go over to my stone mine and do that right now. I'm using you primarily as a transporter for me.
Right.
It would be interesting if they could tie them to the traits as well. Like if it was like a logging foreman and you had the logging trait. Okay, well if they had 3 different traits that are ranked 2, it should treat the logging as more of a priority because it's a logging foreman.
Yeah.
You know, or if it's a mining artisan or something like that.
Yeah, I would like, even if you
multiple skills, I think they should prioritize their higher skill.
I wouldn't even mind if you could go into the where you enhance them and just say, all right, I'm going to make you focus. Like, I want you to prioritize, and I will spend the sphere things on it. Prioritize this task. I would do that. That'd be fine.
That would be interesting, yeah, because there's those essences you can get. It would be nice to see the rare ones, which definitely should be a challenge to get, and you can pump up like a certain trait permanently if you want.
Yeah, I don't even care if it pumps the trait up and like a skill level. Like, I don't think that would balance it, being able to like do that. But I think just being able to say, hey, I need you to like be priority, or maybe even get rid of one of their skills. That would be better. Get rid of one of your profession traits.
For too, to like breed out the bad skills.
Oh, well, that's for the passive traits. I mean the work skills.
The intrinsic work skills. Those are just intrinsic to whatever your pals are. The other things that I had were, I think it's mostly just trappings of survival crafting, but I very much noticed them here. And it has to do with weight and storage. So I know that you have to have weight requirements for like the games like this, but the problem I had was mostly like when you hit something like ore. and it's like it's worth like 8 weight. So like just chipping away at like an ore. I think the big reason why it became an issue for me is because weight expansion is part of your level up system, and there's a lot of other things you can level up, and you start to realize that the majority of your leveling has to be prioritized on just being able to hold on to enough weight that I can take an entire ore, one of these ore nodes, and I can carry it back without getting encumbered. And I feel like that is just a little too much for what they're asking for.
I don't think it's too bad, considering you can just go out with a party of Kativa. If you really wanted to do that, you could just, like, what Crave does is she goes, hey, I'm gonna go mining, I've got my mining party, everyone with me has mining efficiency on them.
Okay.
For her pals. So she mines super fast, and then she also has, like, a party that's got, like, increased weight limit. So, like, if you had 5 Kativa with you, just even at the first level, you'd be adding an extra 250 pounds of weight.
Right.
So there are ways to mitigate that, definitely.
Right.
But there's still issues with that too. But not on your part. More titaniums with the weight limit. If you are on a POW, and I'm gonna use the mammoth because I did ride the mammoth because, they're awesome.
Right.
If you're encumbered and I'm on the mammoth, I should no longer be encumbered.
Right.
That thing has the weight of an ungodly tank that does not exist because the U.S. not developed it yet.
Right. You would think
I
that
should be able to move at a normal speed and not at my encumbered weight. That's also something that is bad and needs to be fixed.
Right.
And it can vary. It can vary depending on the amount that you're riding. The bigger, stronger it is, the easier it should be to ride back to base at a decent speed while you're not encumbered.
Yeah, I don't think, like, your wolf should be able to be like, hey, you're over encumbered by 300 pounds, let me carry you back to base.
I mean, the wolf should be able to alleviate a little bit of weight.
Yeah,
but not like 1,000 pounds of weight. 1,000 pounds, because my weight limit is 1,000, so I get that. But if I have 1,000 pound weight limit and I'm at 1,000, I want to be able to mount up on my mammoth and walk to the base and not snail crawl.
Yeah. Right. I think the overall problem though experience in storage is another one, because you have to put down just so many crates to like hold on to stuff and figure out like what did I put into what, and then what the problem I have with it is that with weight and storage is that it occupies a large amount of time to try and mitigate those things. Like figuring out what I have in what storage containers and remember where I put this thing and do
that's what signs are for.
Do that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that's what signs are for. I mean, that's not necessarily an issue for me. I can't say that's a bad. I stock and store a lot of things. So for me, organization is efficient. Even if it takes an hour to do it, it's efficient.
Right.
Long term.
Here, so I have a positive and negative on the storage thing.
Sure.
So the positive is that if you're in base, you don't have to grab your supplies from a chest. You can craft at a station just fine. That is huge. I don't want to go take out 100 stone from a chest that I have to find to build something.
I was very happy
Letting
about
me
that.
build and craft without needing to access my inventory is amazing.
Yep.
It needs to be in every survival crafting game.
And that chest doesn't even have to be in the same building you're in.
No, it just has to be somewhere in the base.
It's in the radius of the base.
Yeah.
Right. I will say it's a minor inconvenience having to get new materials for a new base, but only insofar that all my ores at the other base, and I need ingots here now, and I already have a base with ingots. Why are they not here? I understand if you got like an item later that can let you access other inventories, that'd be cool. So that's the positive. I think the negative for me for storage is mostly that I cannot assign certain crates and containers to certain items to prioritize where they go.
And then you look in the crates.
Yes and no. Yes and no. If you wanted a crate to be nothing but ore, you'd have to split the stacks and fill all the slots.
Sure, but they will still put ore in other crates around the base.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I would say my issue with some of the storage containers is just the looks of them. Like, I had a bookshelf that I put in, and because you can use it as storage.
Yeah.
But there were only like 8 slots, and that thing, the bookshelf is pretty big.
Oh, sure.
You think it would have like, I don't know, 10 or 15 slots. It's a bookshelf.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, oh, I want to put all the schematics in there.
Mhm.
I didn't understand why even the basic crates had like a dog leg number instead of like 2 full rows of whatever the number is. You could just do 2 full rows. Why is it just like
Yeah.
it just doesn't make sense?
And I understand the limitations of the basic crates.
Oh,
but
sure.
You get that in a lot of survival crafting games.
Yeah.
And then as you unlock more tech, you get access to bigger storage.
Sure.
But sometimes the bigger looking storage is not what it looked like on the inside.
Right.
It's smaller on the
It's
inside.
smaller on the inside. It's reverse Doctor
In this
Who.
case, it's smaller on the inside, depending on the storage.
Right.
Yeah. My issue with the storage when you're building it is that when you're building it, you cannot see how many slots that the item has. You can see how much it costs to build it, but you don't know how much storage space is in there until you build it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I would like to see that added as a little tip.
Yeah.
On a side note, while we're talking about the bad, on a side note, I would like to see a little bit more immersion in terms of that, like the bookshelf. It should look empty until you put items on it.
Yeah,
and then it should be like populate what it kind of looks like. If you're putting a bunch of schematics, it should just be filled with a bunch of scrolls in there.
Like you
Instead
could
of
actually
books.
see it on the yeah.
Yeah,
That would be cool. I don't think it's a bad thing necessarily. That'd be a lot more asset work for them, but it would
It
be
is.
cool.
It would, and I feel like I would basically make that a low priority. You know, like
Right.
it can come eventually. I'm not in a rush for something like that.
Yep.
But
Right.
to me,
I
as
would like-
someone who likes aesthetically pleasing environments,
Sure.
I would like to see them, as I was saying, with the priority storage containers, I would like to be able to say, for instance, food, berries, things, create like that. When I have people farming up berries and wheat, I do not want them to put it in their food trough. I want you to
Right.
go put that in the refrigerator where it won't go bad.
well, I mean,
Right.
either or. Because if they're putting it in the food trough, they're eating the food kind of frequently, so you're not really losing that much food, depending
Yeah,
on how
but
much
if
is
it's
coming in.
But if it's like eggs and stuff, and I want to use them for crafting recipes, then they go and eat
Yeah.
the eggs after they put it in the trough.
So, on that note, side
Yeah,
note,
that's
they
true.
will only eat the first food item in the food dish.
Oh, really? Oh, I did not
Yeah.
know that. I did not know.
Yeah,
doesn't
so I
prioritize-
usually stack berries in it.
Yeah,
There's
just
a second base
baked
that we
berries.
built. Yeah, there's a second base that I built in the area that if I go down, it's where the mammoths usually congregate, and has that cat boss and a couple other bosses. I could probably pick up like maybe close to 1,000 berries if I were to clear that whole area.
Mm-hmm.
I just bring it back to the base and I'm like, y'all got food for a while. I just split the stack between the 2 food troughs, one in the front, one in the back.
I don't like that they put the milk and the wheat and the eggs there because they expire pretty quick. And
Yeah.
the other thing is that food goes bad one at a time. I wasn't sure I had to test it. So if there's a timer and it's running down, it will not take the whole stack, which is nice. It only takes one.
That
But
is
it's
that
still-
is really good.
But it's still a little annoying to me as someone who doesn't really care for that mechanic a whole lot. Like, I understand it, but if there was a setting to turn the food degradation down, I would turn it down.
Yeah.
'Cause,
I
like,
mean,
if I'm
like
gonna
if an
spend my
item has like 15 minutes and you have like a stack of 5, you know, that's 15 minutes times 5. Because once that one goes, this timer restarts.
Sure.
But if it degrades in the base and the food trough, it's either it does or they eat it. Like, you don't really know because you're already out adventuring and you're bringing more materials back anyway. I think it's I don't want to say it's necessarily a moot point, but it doesn't feel like it's a game breaking thing to me.
No,
I don't
it's
think
Especially
an
with the amount of
annoyance.
resources you can bring back in.
Yeah. I don't think anything that
It's
was
more of
really
an
mentioned-
annoyance if I'm spending the time and resources to make this, and it goes bad because somebody put it in a food trough and they're eating all the berries and no one's touched it because they don't have food priority. Even
Yeah.
though this one would fill all their food and fix their sanity problem, then it becomes an annoyance.
Alex, you actually reminded me of something too, because you were saying it would be really nice if, like, when you did storage, it would tell you how many slots it has. I need something like that for weapons and armor, where it will tell me what the actual stats for the weapon and armor are before I craft it. I've had times where I was like, oh, maybe I'll have better luck with this weapon, and it's like, oh, the stats on this are worse than the last thing that I had.
Honestly,
or
if
hats,
if the team does anything like what they did when they updated Craftopia a bunch, if they do anything like that, they will probably add in the suffix and prefix stuff for armor and weapons kind of deal, and we'll fix that because that game didn't have those to begin with. You could only find them like that, but later on they added in the ability to say crafting materials that dropped could have the chance to have different words on them attached, and then crafting with those let you add those into the items.
Right.
I guess I would file this under a bad. The schematics don't get used when you craft with them. You can stack over and over and over again. I got a legendary, early on in the game, I got the legendary bow 4 schematic. It does less damage than the standard crossbow that you can make. The first one. Not 2, 3, or 4 old crossbow. It does less damage than your crossbow. And I still have that schematic in my storage. Like, it should consume the item.
Yeah.
It might be worth money to the vendor, but it's definitely something that should be consumed on use. Because now I have 3 storage units filled with so many different types of schematics.
Yes.
It should either consume it, or it should be you use the schematic and you learn the blueprint.
Yeah.
Or you can just you learn it. Or you can install them into the conveyor belts.
Oh, that'd be neat, yeah.
Or you just get like maybe a crafting schematic early on, which is like a bookshelf or something like that, or a scroll shelf, and it just lets you put the scrolls in there, and just like
maybe. No, you know what? I actually like what I said. Before. It'd be nice, good. Like if you craft the material, with the schematic at a workstation, it should consume it. But if you use it at the conveyor belt for mass production, it should be installed into that conveyor belt and not the workbench.
Got it.
So, like, let's say you put a legendary bow in there. That conveyor belt has been expanded in terms of what it can craft by whatever you install into it, quote unquote, install.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's also another thing I have on my wish list is I want to be able to set up queues on my workbenches, so that I don't have to just do the one item. I can actually say, after you craft this, I want to craft this, this, and this if I have the resources, so that I don't have to come back afterward and say, okay, you've finally gotten done with all of those, now I'm going to give you the next thing. No. I really want you to craft these things. I need a gun, and then I need the bullets for the gun. And I'm probably going to need the more gunpowder so you can make more of the thing. And I have the resources for it. So
that would be good, but you can also set up multiple conveyor belts at the same time. So you could have one crafting firearms, one crafting ammunition, one crafting the resources to craft those 2 things.
You could.
Then it comes down to you need to pull the gunpowder from this station when it's done and bring it over to this one, so I don't have to do it because I'm busy out in the world.
Right. If the pals could do that for me, that would be lovely. Or if they could do just a continuous thing, so it's not like I have to come back with more resources and then do that. Like they could just say, oh, if the resources are available, you just keep crafting this thing. I want this to do this.
Set the task at the workbench. Be like, I need as many of these as you can make.
Keep making omelets. You have the eggs. You keep making the eggs. Keep making the omelets at this station.
2 things on that. One, the queue number that you can set needs to go more than just 10 at a time. Because if you want to make 1,000 cooked berries so that they can have food for a long time and get more hunger filled out of that, so that they're working more, would be great. The second thing is, I built 2 conveyor belts. One item, one weapon. But the sphere one is on the ground level in the base that I built. The item one is on the 2nd story. If I set stuff in there, the pals don't have the sense of walking up the stairs or walking up a ramp that I built to get up there. I feel like I have to take that down and now put it on the ground level. But when I put the egg incubators on the 3rd floor, they were helping me build it from the floor, outside, in the dirt.
Yeah, I saw you doing that.
And that goes in again to the pathing that we brought up earlier.
It does.
They don't run into the building to help you. And it's not like my building has doors. I have one door in that building, and it's from my own bedroom, and it has a passcode on it. The entire concept of my build, which you've seen, Alex, is it's open in the front and in the back. So creatures can come in and out at will. And the way I built it looks really nice, so that they can come in and out. It's like a wide open door.
What they need to add for building features is a PAL door.
That'd be cute, just to watch the pals come through the.
But
I don't know
then
if I want to
dragons.
I don't know
Through the little door, and they get stuck. You see their little head get stuck in the door, and they rip the door off.
But I also think that might be what the gates are for, that you can build too.
Maybe.
But it'd be cute. It'd be cute to see like a little PAL door for like the little critters to go through.
Yeah.
But honestly, that'd be cute.
That'd be fine. That'd be cool. But yeah, so I mean, those are some of the issues, and I think it's mostly just about just how you're structuring your day, and a lot of these are really just mostly me having to stop and get taken out of like the best parts of the game where you're out there exploring and you're catching stuff. And then I have to go, I gotta manage my inventory, I gotta manage my storage, I gotta set all these tasks and everything. And a lot of that does feel like it can end up being busy work that could be streamlined so much easier with a few changes.
I feel like at the time of recording, being 8 days in after early access release, the fact that these are the things we're nitpicking the game about is actually
pretty good.
A fairly good sign for the game.
It's a good sign. It's a good sign.
Yeah, I haven't found as many game-breaking things. Like the PAL sphere being stuck in your hand and you can't switch to your weapons. That was the only thing. The only other issue I had was one time when I teleported from one place to another, my screen went black. It never loaded in. I had to relaunch the game.
Yeah.
But that's not an uncommon thing. There's other people in my community, for the Twitch Hawaii community, who experienced the same thing. Some experienced it when they were at their weight limit and they were encumbered. They were just wanting to transport the materials from one base to the other because there was a chest right there, and it black screened on them.
Yeah.
You know,
I had one bug when I teleported into my second base. Before we had a lot of like anything there, just the PAL box, because I needed materials. So I teleported in. I guess I had a couple things there, and all the pals that were in that base were suddenly spawned in behind the PAL box, up in the air, and then fell, and all of them became incapacitated. And I was like, what? Why are they all incapacitated? What just happened? And they did it again.
To me, I find that very interesting, because if I'm mounted on my direwolf and I jump from a high place, I take no fall damage. I fully expect that to change in the future.
Yeah.
And they will add fall damage to it.
You take fall damage if you're not mounted.
Yes. And depending on how high you fall, you could take devastating fall damage. I haven't tried to see if I can die from jumping from a really high cliff. I assume that I can. But if I were to jump from that same high peak with my direwolf, I will take 0 fall damage.
Yeah.
And again, that's something I fully expect them to either fix or patch out in the future, to that you and your pal will take fall damage.
Yeah. So what I actually did to prevent this is I went and built some foundations that are above the ground, like a good 5, 6, 7 feet above the ground, behind the PAL box, and just that entire area is just a platform now, so now it doesn't happen.
You're just built by the water, so they'll land in the water.
No, then they get stuck in the water. And you have less building area. Anyways,
I think we've griped. But I guess we should probably move on to the ugly, which actually, frankly, doesn't really have to do so much with the game itself in the playing of it, but everything else around it.
Here's the ugliest thing. Nathan, did you notice that there was a specific lack of any fishing mechanics in the game?
Oh, don't get me onto fishing mechanics.
I mentioned this the other day to Crave, and she goes, well, what would you fish? Pals? I went, you know what? That's probably pretty fair.
Yeah.
She's like, what about like fishing in like Pokemon games? I'm like, oh no, when you fish in Pokemon games, you fish a Pokemon.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
your Magikarps, your Tentacools, your Goldines.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I feel like this one where it's an open world one, and I don't remember if they had any fishing mini games in the open world Pokemon games at all or not. I feel like that would actually be harder to implement. It's just a little weird to me. I know I was mentioning how the oceans and the lakes, there's no like aquatic pals that live in the water aside from like
Yeah.
serpents and stuff,
Yeah.
and cellerays, but like there's not any real fish. And I was like, that's
Right.
a little weird to me,
Yeah,
but
it
it's
is.
not a devastating thing. Craftopia does have a fishing mechanic, and you just kind of go there, you cast your line, you pull it back out when you get a thing, and then you get they have dozens of different fish and lobster and shellfish types you can get. So
Mhm.
So I
But
don't
they're
know
not
if this
alive.
really, I don't know if this really falls under ugly, but I want to know how you two
No.
personally feel about it. The being able to butcher your pals in this
love
game.
it. I think it's hilarious.
Is it what you expected though?
No, I first did it and I was wondering, and like, is this the only way I can get rid of them? Like, if I don't want them in my box,
Other
And
than
so I
selling
did it.
them?
other than selling them, I'm like, is there a different way I can do it? Because I can't just like release them. I could drop them on the ground, but then they'll be staying there in their pal sphere. And so I was like, I could sell them, but like, this is before I got the condenser, which, as my friend called it, the juicer. But yeah, butchering it, I thought it was hilarious the way that it censors the whole thing.
And you, Titanium?
Oh, I haven't butchered anything, so I don't know.
He's
How do you feel
kind
about
to
it though?
his
How do you feel
pals.
about it though?
How do I feel
Like as
about
a
it?
mechanic in the game.
I feel like we got into Animal Farm a little bit too much. Like I feel like we suddenly became a psychological horror for having had it in the game.
I feel
I'll-
like with the themes
No.
and the way the game is presenting itself, with having guns and thugs and black market, and the fact you can capture humans, and it's like it's pretty inhumane to do it, but you can do it. Like the game specifically says, it's pretty much seen as inhumane to do this.
Yeah.
The fact that you can butcher is right on par with that. I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
I'll say this. I am not for it, but I'm also not against it. I understand that is a mechanic in the game,
Yeah.
and I do not have to engage with that mechanic. Have
You
I
do
engaged
not.
with it while playing? Yes, because I wanted to see what it would be like. Not from a
Sure.
mental standpoint, but I wanted to see how this mechanic worked in this game.
Right.
The censoring of it was interesting. The way you can see the creature flail, because it's being butchered. But the end result was, God, I'm gonna sound terrible for saying this, but it was disappointing.
It was.
Like I thought you would have gotten either more resources or you could actually cook the creature, but you don't.
So you
just
want
get
it,
like
you
you just get like the resources you would have gotten from it anyway. So if it's you would have gotten like the meat or whatever it normally drops on its loot table. There was no difference. I'm better off selling the pals to the pal trader, getting all that coin, and either using it to buy medicine, because those take forever and a day to craft unless you build up the workbench to craft faster,
Mm-hmm.
and have a pal that can help make it faster. I'm better off selling all these pals for quick coin than either buying medicine or maybe buying a pal from either the black market dealer or the regular pal trader.
Right.
I honestly, I know it's a mechanic in the game, but I personally see no benefit as to why you would want to butcher a pal.
Yeah, the only real benefit I could see to doing it often at all is if you were catching a ton of pals and butchering them to double up on the material drop.
But even then, you get the because you get the materials when you capture them. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but like you said, it's either put them in the condenser so you can up their star rank. Maybe it's a really good pal you want to keep, the main one. You want to pump that star up, and then maybe actually breed that one out eventually.
Yeah, like my Spar Fox.
Yeah,
Sorry,
so there's
Fox
really
Sparks.
there's really the only two reasons for it.
Yeah.
I see no benefit to the butchering.
You got to
Other
use
than
the
just being
whole
cruel.
pal. Is what you have to use the whole pal.
Well, that's what the juicer is for.
Oh
Yeah.
God. So
Other than that, I don't really know what's ugly about this game, other than the current controversies that
Well,
it has, which
and
I
I'm
think that's
hoping we
about
get
it,
into.
really.
And that's the.
You're hoping we
that's
do
the
or we
thing.
don't?
I'm
What-
hoping we do get into them
Oh,
because it's an
dear.
interesting discussion to have.
Well, and I think that like when I was thinking about the ugly, it really wasn't about the game itself. It really was about the response back. Mostly because a lot of it ended up being kind of just a lot of people getting angry for no reason and trying to come up with stuff.
Yeah.
So, like for instance, the AI thing came
Yeah.
up about generative AI, and the claim was mostly because the creator of the game, or at least the lead designer, had even shown like, you know, here's Pokemon-like creatures through like generative AI. But I think I would watch like Charlanazard made a good comment about this, which was that if they were okay using that before, why wouldn't they just come out and say that they used it now? Like,
Yeah.
it,
And
like
their AI
they're
art imposter.
yeah, like art imposter and stuff like that. Like, why would they bother to do, or why would they have even hired, like an actual concept designer to begin with to do any of that? And then it turned out that a lot of that, or the tracing part of this, were kind of unfounded because there's no evidence of any of that.
Yeah, some ordinary gamers did a really good video on that because of it. He did a video about Palworld being really fun because he just played 20 hours of it.
Sure.
And then he did another follow-up video because people are like, oh, generative AI, and people are very just, you use the buzzword, we gotta get on you for it.
Right.
So he did a whole video with his investigation into that, and he's like, yeah, everything that was said about this is pretty much taken out of context from quotes that this guy had on the talk, and this guy has a coin, I don't remember, like a coin
A crypto,
like a crypto,
coin?
Like a crypto.
yeah, like a cryptocurrency thing that he does on a different side, but he was also like employed by JP Morgan and a couple other things. So like, yes, he's in the crypto space a little bit,
Right.
or a lot of it. I didn't really go into a lot of detail myself on that. It's not what I do, but like, is he over there in some of the financial stuff and a little bit of the AI stuff and thinks it's neat? Sure. Does it mean that he's using generative
Using
AI
it
to
for
make a
this.
game?
I mean, you could
No.
almost make that argument for any game studio, because I'm sure there are other people that work there, it doesn't matter their position on the totem pole, who are into stocks, or into cryptocurrencies, or into
Oh, sure.
things like AI.
And it doesn't mean
Yeah.
that they use it
Do
in
we
the
paint
game.
them all with the same paintbrush now?
No. Well, I think it matters if they use it for the games. Like if that becomes the placeholder instead of having, you know, people work on it. Because my stance on the AI in games is pretty much what it always has been. Is that I don't think it's necessarily a good thing for the industry, because they're just going to find a way to just make games all AI based, and like nobody ends up working on it. And if nobody's working on it, why should I want to play it? If like, it's like when you see the AI articles, it's like if nobody bothered to write it, why would I want to read it? No one was even interested in writing this thing.
True, but
so-
I mean, in terms of the gaming space, I think AI does have its place, but it can be very situational. Like if you want to be like, if you're playing a game that's more open world environment, maybe let's just say any type of role playing type of game.
Okay.
Let's take GTA RP for example.
Okay.
And you would interact with the NPCs more than actual players. And they could generate AI responses based on what you say to it, whether it's through typing or through voice, which most of the GTA RP is done through voice anyway. I can see where it could be a benefit from that. You know, you can engage and get different responses from various NPCs in a game like that.
Yeah,
Right.
that
But
would feel more alive than
do I think Rockstar should make the next Grand Theft Auto complete that AI from the ground up? No. In terms of voice acting, in terms of dialogue and stuff,
yeah.
I think that's something I could be okay with, because for me as a player, it means it becomes a little bit more immersive, and you can have a back and forth dialogue based on just that.
I've heard that argument too, especially for that, where NPC dialogue, do you really want to be paying someone to write nonsense, like hundreds of nonsense lines of dialogue that are just like casual conversation to have? They could be doing better things.
Yeah,
Like,
and you could really chew up your budget for a game, just paying someone to write pages and pages and pages of short form dialogue.
Yeah,
And
I mean, or you could do
responses.
what Fallout 76 did at the beginning and just have no NPCs, so you don't have to worry about it.
That worked out
Which
real well.
obviously,
Oh yeah, it did.
Yeah. Tell me about
So
it.
so AI does have its place. It's just
It
situational,
does.
and it depends on
100%.
where it's being situated in.
Right. Right.
For instance, the generative AI thing being used as art, obviously these creatures in Palworld are not 100% generated by AI. They are refined pieces of art. They definitely have human touches on them, even if the concepts had been made by AI, which they had a lead concept designer. So even if they're using
Yeah.
inspiration from AI generated stuff, I don't have a big issue with that because they still had to have somebody go and 3D model it,
And do it. Yeah.
do
they
all
had
the
to
art
do the
assets
work.
for it,
And do all
you
the
know,
rigging of the creature
Yeah.
and its
Right.
mechanics.
Right. If
you
you
know. So
if you
even
just,
if they,
yeah,
Yeah.
I think what you're getting at is like if I wanted to use an AI program to say here's like 15 versions of like what you might want to do with this character, and I can say, oh, okay, I got it. So now I have a basis for what I want to do for the actual modeling of the character. I get inspired because you just threw a bunch of stuff at the wall so I can look at it. I understand the utility of that. But if I then took one of those and said, that's my model, I'm just going to throw it in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and
on
even
this-
if you're looking at it as a point of reference for your inspiration,
Yeah.
maybe that person's visual. You know,
Mhm.
there's a lot of people who are visual learners, or they have to see something to figure out what they want to do. And if they got to look
Sure.
at 15 different variants of a creature or a monster or a character
Mhm.
to draw their inspiration, be like, all right, I want to take pieces of this and this and this and this, and work in my own stuff for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't even call that AI generative art anymore. Maybe
No.
you could, pushing the boundary, you could call it AI assisted,
And I've heard that
because
term.
it still has the human, because you still have that human touch,
Right.
Like Alex alluded to on
Right.
that
Right.
moments ago.
Yeah.
I will say, even like on the AI thing, even some of the stuff we do for our thumbnails, those are all created by our designer, Crave. But she has used occasionally the AI assistant in like Photoshop to help like with stuff she doesn't really need to design a lot. Like I think our War Tales thumbnail, if you've seen that, we took the image from the War Tales thing, like the War Tales image itself, and it was too small and wasn't in the way that we really like the position she wanted in. So she expanded it. She's like, pull it, made the canvas of it bigger, and asked the AI to expand this image, basically. Right. And what that did is it just took what was already existing there, and it added more of the same underneath it to make it a seamless version of this with more at the bottom, so we could put our text in a different place.
Mm-hmm.
Right, because the characters weren't where we needed them to be. We
right,
needed them
so
to be in a certain spot. Yeah,
it's like that saved her having to do work that was either boring or just would have been a pain in the ass,
and would have probably been very time consuming.
Yeah, because like she's not going to replicate the art style, just try to make it look nice just for a thumbnail. That's silly. Yeah. So she tried that, and she's like, actually, this came out really good.
Right, and she knew what she wanted to do there, so she knew what she needed it to look like, and that's the thing, and that was mostly for framing. Because again, we knew what we wanted it to frame as in the first place.
And even if it didn't come out 100%,
yeah,
maybe it didn't come out 100% exactly how she would have liked it or envisioned it. It was close enough, and that
then you can
sometimes close enough is good enough.
Yeah,
I think it's mostly that like I just want to make sure that art still has an artist associated with it, like that the art still has an artist.
That's I mean, we're not the people to talk to like in depth about AI with, anyways, but making sure that people.
Experts.
Yeah, no. Yeah. And none of us, I think, are artists either.
No.
But I think a lot of the artists just want to be able to opt out of having their art used as references for it, too.
Which is totally fair.
Absolutely fair.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And, the thing is the ethical AI.
Yeah.
It needs to be ethical. It needs to be, the artists need to be okay with it, and it can't just be wholesale going, yeah, I'm just recreating someone else's art.
Right. Right.
Aside from that, there's a couple other controversies going on with Palworld, I guess, too.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo did eventually give a response because I think a bunch of their fans, and I have to say, like, seeing their response, it feels like Nintendo just kind of going, yes, we've heard your complaints. Please stop sending us stuff. I understand. Because realistically, I think if they had any claim to copying or plagiarism or anything like that, they would have been on it. Nintendo's not shy about being litigious. So
they're not. And the original
apparently this game's been in development for a long time. Like,
the first trailer
this
for
is
it
hitting
came out 2 years
Nintendo's radar at all?
Yeah, they would have known about this for a while.
Yeah. The first trailer for Palworld was out over 2 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
They have known about this.
Yeah.
And I believe one of the modders who had made a mod already to put actual Pokemon in Palworld has already gotten a DMCA.
Yeah, they pulled.
Oh yeah, that's already been taken down. That got taken down so fast. As we all expected it to.
Right.
So if you think that Nintendo is not the type of people who go, you need to stop now or we're suing your ass, then you're wrong. Because the fact they haven't taken this down yet means either they have no legitimate claim or don't think they could win. And you touched on this earlier if you want to touch on it now, too.
So there's a lawyer YouTuber named Hogue Law, which I encourage you to watch his video about it if you have time, even if you watch it in chunks. It's like a 90-minute live stream video that he did on YouTube. We covered a lot of the controversies and the Palworld, and I will say this, that he enjoys the game. And he even said in his video he enjoys playing it with his daughter. It is the most fun that they've had playing a game together, apparently, and based on that video and other articles I've read, Japan's prosecutor or attorney general or whatever the equivalent is to America, they won't go after somebody unless they know for an absolute fact that they can win the case. They have a very high conviction rate, very high win rate, and they rarely ever lose. Losing sets a precedent for them that they do not want. Nintendo, Game Freak, the Pokemon Company, this is not something they would want to lose if they wanted to engage the creators of Palworld with this. They'd have to know for a fact that they could win. Because if they lose, it opens up other avenues and other creators be like, well, Nintendo can't touch me because they couldn't even touch Palworld, and they came from that company came from the same country as the Pokemon franchise.
Right. It would be one thing if the creators of Palworld had instead called this Pokemon Pals or something stupid.
Pokeworld.
We've seen
Palomon.
anything like that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of fan Pokemon games. Probably one of the most famous ones that, I don't know if you've heard of it, but the most famous one I ever heard was Pokemon Uranium.
Yep, and that got taken down within weeks.
That got taken down,
because people talked about it too much.
Yeah.
Had they kept it low under the radar, Nintendo wouldn't have cared.
As we say as World of Warcraft players, fun was detected and was nerfed.
Yeah,
that's true. Or if they had just not called it Pokemon and they had just not used that reference.
And it falls under the whole copyright thing. Like if they wanted to build something like in the Pokemon world in a sense, but not use any of the IP of it, don't call it Pokemon, don't call it the Pokemon world.
Yeah.
Uranium probably could have gotten away with it, and Uranium could have been still out today.
Possibly.
But they used existing IPs that they have no right to use.
No.
Right.
There are like mobile games today that are basically just Pokemon Red Blue, but it's just completely IP free with different monsters. The framing, the look of it, will look completely classic. Even the pathways that you normally take from one place to another are going to be very similar. They're still up. They're still up after years because they didn't specifically make it Pokemon. But anybody who had played Pokemon would go, "Oh, I know this. I'm familiar with this thing."
Right.
And people's biggest outrage also seems to be, oh, this game is too much like Pokemon, so we should all boycott it, and you're a bad person if you play it, and you shouldn't do it. Fuck that. I think that's bullshit. Because there are so many other games that take inspiration. The Pokemon Game Freak Nintendo did not invent the genre of capturing monsters and making them battle.
Yeah.
What they did was they mainlined it and made it mainstream.
Right.
They popularized it. If we were to go into the history books, Dragon Quest came out just days prior to Pokemon, and they have a lot of the same mechanics. Does that mean we can use the argument that the Pokemon franchise copied Dragon Quest? Because technically, Dragon Quest came out first.
If you want to get into that too, then you've got also spin-offs from how popular Pokemon was. You've got like Digimon.
Yokai and Watch was another one.
Those are all very similar in the vein of what Pokemon set out to do, and very different at the same time.
And how many Pokemon fans went after Pokemon when Mega Evolution became a thing? Because that's what Digimon do. They digivolve, and then they go back to the state they were prior.
Right.
Charizard is the prime example. Charizard has an X and a Y form. Mm-hmm. And Charizard can Mega Evolution into either form, but then goes back to being a regular Charizard after. That's literally your Digivolve and De-Evolution.
Yeah.
Did people actually go after him for that? Digimon. I don't remember.
I mean, there was a bunch of outrage on it on social media and stuff, because they were like, oh, now you're copying. Yeah, but nothing got done. But it's like, oh, now you're copying Digimon. It's just like, maybe they took the inspiration from it, but they didn't Pokemon didn't popularize Mega Evolution.
Yeah,
or evolution of that style.
It would be like if Vampire Survivors, being probably the biggest game of that type, went after anyone who went and made another game after it. That copied it wholesale. And be like, oh no, you're doing what we did. No, we're using the inspiration and the success you have to build things that we hope people will like, that is similar enough to what you did, but different enough that we don't get in trouble for it.
Right. Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's and I don't know how much of that is innovative, because if you're not innovating new, you're just recreating the wheel with different looks and different vibes and different elements.
And that's what a lot of game companies do these days, especially mobile game companies. But
if we wanted to run down after games and franchise that would do that, I mean, what's the most popular cozy farming sim on Steam? Stardew Valley.
Which I don't like personally.
Where did Stardew get their inspiration from? And it's a one-person crew. Exactly, and he makes no secret about that. Yeah, he makes no secret about that.
Yeah,
but it's just like, oh, you're taking something that Harvest Moon started.
Yeah,
but Stardew Valley also has RPG elements. Where did that come from? Rune Factory. The first Rune Factory was labeled Rune Factory, a fantasy Harvest Moon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it was based off of that series, and it was, I think, the same company that did it. Yeah,
and that's not a terrible thing. The Stardew Valley is an absolutely amazing game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a fun game.
And the thing is, like, Concerned Ape would even talk about the fact that, like, there was nothing for the Harvest Moon series in the landscape at the time. The reason he made the game was because there was such a dearth of that out there, and he wanted something out of it. In some ways, I think Palworld is an example of that. People who play on PC or play on Xbox have not had an experience like this at all. They've been not a good one at all. And frankly, it doesn't even really play like Pokemon. But in general, if you're looking for something like this, players really haven't had a lot of options on those platforms. And
I mean, they have in various pieces, like the capturing mechanics. You got that in your Pokemons, because there are other games that are like that where you capture creatures.
Sure.
There's games where you have to kill the creatures. Oh, what does that? Monster Hunter does that.
Sure.
You have to base build. What can you play in base building? Any base building game like Valheim.
Oh yeah.
You have a farm where you take care of your creatures, and if you don't feed them or take care of them, they get hurt and injured. What has that? Your Stardews.
Or a farming simulator. You have an open environment world that you can traverse in. What has that? Breath of the Wild, New World, World of Warcraft, Skyrim. All these other games Yeah.
It definitely
it just takes
pulls
all these
from
little
a lot.
elements. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. And
Um,
it's really not like Pokemon. I mean, you could say
structurally,
that there are some.
not at
No,
all.
but you could say that they share some similarities. Do
Sure.
you capture creatures? Yes. Do you force them to fight? Yes.
Yeah.
Do you have to take care of them? Can you store them in a computer system?
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have
Can
an
you heal
index? Yeah. Do you have
Yes.
a codex that tells you all about them?
Yes.
Can you
Can you
breed
shoot
them?
them with guns
Okay, that's
in one of these games?
I guess the only other thing though that I wanted to mention was there's another thing that I was seeing a lot, where people were really hoping Palworld succeeded because they wanted to punish Nintendo for not
I've
being
seen that too.
yeah for not for not doing enough with the Pokemon franchise.
Yeah,
And
there's the two camps on that side
Yeah.
too, which are the people who are like, Nintendo hasn't been doing enough to innovate and use the Pokemon series in a way that pushes the envelope. They've kind of just stuck with the formula that works for them and just kind of not really innovated at all, aside from like these newest, like Arceus was the first real innovation they'd done on Pokemon.
yeah,
And again, as I said earlier, the biggest limiting factor, I think, for Nintendo and Pokemon in general is that they're limiting themselves with the hardware they're using.
yeah.
Because the Switch
So I have a question:
underperforms.
Is Switch the only thing they had? Because they used to have consoles too. They do like
Well,
I know the
Switch
Wii
is-
was a thing for a while. Do they even have a console?
No, the
Well,
Switch
is
is
it
both
just
a
the Switch?
console and a handheld.
Yeah, the Wii can be used
Because
as
the Switch has a dock and you can use it on a screen, but it's also a handheld. So
Okay.
they don't have a real dedicated
So that's
console.
kind of
They
their
have a-
excuse for not having a console game. I mean,
Yeah.
Right.
on the one hand, I get why they probably don't. The console wars is a very real thing, whether
Mhm.
people want to admit it or not. You know, it's just like people are like, "Oh, your team AMD or your team Intel, you're the team Xbox or your team PlayStation."
Mm.
You know, and then there was always like your Nintendo, your Sega Dreamcast, your Sega Saturn. You know,
Mhm.
you had, and where are those today?
Dead.
Right.
Exactly.
I think for Nintendo, for Game Freak and all of that, I totally understand the criticism of them, like when Sword and Shield came out, and it was like, what did you do to the franchise? It's like the first one that you could actually play on a console, and I understand, like they even talked about that being the B team because they had their A team working on a different project, like
Yeah.
not respecting the thing. I can totally understand that. I can totally understand saying that, but that doesn't mean that you have to like try to punish Nintendo because something
Yeah.
else is popular. That doesn't have to be a thing. And if Nintendo and Game Freak want to make the games that they want to make, that can exist in the same space. Because again, Palworld doesn't play like any of those, and is a really different kind of game structurally. If Nintendo doesn't want to, shoot Pokemon with a fantasy guy, they don't have to make that
I mean,
game.
technically, you throw a Pokeball at your opponent. I mean, technically, you could consider that shooting.
Yeah, but you don't like smack
And
them with.
actually, no. I want to walk that back. Some Pokemon do shoot. Blastoise has two freaking cannons coming out of its shell.
Blastoise.
Yeah, that's true. They're water cannons, though.
Yeah.
They're water
It's
guns.
still a cannon, though.
Giant.
They will still bore
That's-
through your skull.
Mhm.
What I will say is, if the people, not that they would listen to us, because we're just three nerds talking about a game,
Sure.
but if the people of Nintendo, Game Freak, Pokemon Company are listening to the fan base, to people,
Mm.
this, to me, feels like it should be lighting a fire under their ass
Yeah.
to produce a better game. Because when this game came out 8 days ago, and in the 8 days since, people were sharing clips from the last couple gen Pokemon games of all the glitches and the bugs and the encounters they had.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't pretty. It definitely
No.
wasn't pretty for the Pokemon franchise
No.
at all.
I
We know they
definitely
can do
remember
better.
when I was playing one of them. I don't remember. It was either Arceus or Scarlet Violet. There's a point you're on I think it was Scarlet, maybe. You're on a little cliff there, and there's a Gyarados kind of flying around because it's a flying type. It doesn't have to be in the water. It can fly. It's just kind of flying around in a big old circle pattern. But like, when it gets further out, you just see it start like janking, going.
Oh, like
because
like billboard or
because
something.
it's on
when
the
it gets out?
Switch.
Yeah.
What's that?
Is it billboarding? Is the model like turning into like a flat 2D that's just kind of like going back?
I
and
don't think
forth,
it's
or-
turning into a flat 2D, but I think it's because the hardware on the Switch and the power that it has is so underwhelming for it
Yeah.
that even at the 30 stable frames per second that it gets out there, it's not close enough for it to get everything properly rendered in. So it's just
Yeah.
kind of going.
Yeah, no, they definitely had a lot of technical issues with those, and it was underwhelming for a lot of people, especially because they were looking forward to the first console playable Pokemon game that for the mainline series. Nintendo's statement had said, like, we have heard about this game that is on PC that people
came
might
out in
think
January of 2024.
Yeah, that we have heard
not
about
naming it, but
I'm gonna just say it right now. There are people in the Nintendo offices freaking playing Palworld right now.
oh, definitely.
And
absolutely.
they are
There's
playing
no
this,
way.
and the heads of Nintendo and the heads of Game Freak are playing that thing, thinking, what could we
No,
learn
I mean,
about
yeah,
this for the
There are
future?
probably two camps of players at Nintendo right now. There are
Oh,
people
yeah.
who are playing it because they're enjoying it, and there's other people who are playing it to see how they can reverse engineer it
Yep.
into something for the next
So
generation.
what's going on in the office is, are you playing Palworld right now? Yeah, boss. I'm just making sure they're not using our models.
Yeah, I'm just checking
Okay,
on
good work.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people think that certain studios don't play other games.
Right.
I've been to Blizzard headquarters. I've talked to many employees. They play other games that aren't just Blizzard titles.
Yeah.
They
Well,
enjoy
you
a
have
variety of games. Yeah, they don't have to.
Either you have to, unless you don't play games at all.
Like, the only
Which
time it
I
should make sense is if it's like, and I know it's a real thing, if it's like Bud Light and Budweiser. Like, people will get fired from their companies if they're drinking the competitor's beer.
Yeah,
that doesn't
that's
happen in the
different,
gaming
though.
space.
No,
Because
because they
gamers
want
just
you
wanna
playing
enjoy
other
games.
games. Well, yeah. Usually, I want to say that they want you playing other games to see if there are ideas that are there that exist that are doing a better job of something than the games you are making can do, and how you can innovate from that.
So
One of the other big controversies, too, as well, I've heard, is that people over at the Pocket Pair, Palworld's
Pocket Pair?
company,
Mhm.
Pocket Pair, are getting death threats and stuff
Oh, fun.
for some of like the art stuff for like stealing Pokemon designs.
I just want to preface this right now. Don't do that.
No.
Yeah,
Don't
No,
do that.
it-
You do
in
not
general.
want men in suits. You don't want men in suits knocking on your door.
No.
because that is a crime.
Yeah.
not only do you not want men in suits knocking at your door, don't be a fucking asshole.
Yeah, just in general. Don't do that. It's like they made a game that you have a problem with. Just
Cool, don't buy it.
yeah, don't yeah.
Do
Please stop.
Do
And-
what all
yeah.
those people who didn't like that Hogwarts Legacy was a thing did, and
Right.
don't support it.
And, well,
But don't.
You can voice your opinion about not liking it, but don't go after people who enjoying the game.
yeah.
Let people enjoy things.
I
If it's
think
not for you, that's fine. Move on.
and frankly, when it comes to like accusations like we've gone over before, I think that this is the thing that if might philosophize for a second. One of the big problems with the social media landscape as it goes, and like the media being able to be like immediate, is that people have immediate reactions before more information comes out. And so we've now kind of determined that the AI thing doesn't really have any evidence to it. There was the thing about like tracing models directly from the Pokemon. That's pretty much been debunked because they had to the people claiming that had to come out and say, actually, we resized these and everything.
Yeah.
And-
Actually, if you watch that whole Glaw video, he actually does cover that topic too.
Oh, interesting.
Good.
Interesting.
I don't know how much, but he did cover it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I
just
saw one of those things too where they were using the rigging and they're like, oh, it's the same thing. It's like, okay, but how do we know you're a valid source? Like,
right, and then it
That's,
turns out that they really weren't.
yeah, in articles quoting people that are coming out anonymously as they're saying they'll testify in court, but they can't be named in an article that they're being quoted in.
Yeah, if you're willing
Which is
to
funny
go on
because
record.
their name will come out. Yeah, their name is going to come out in the papers, and then what?
Yeah.
You set yourself up to be a target in the future. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's we're not experts here. You're probably not an expert here if you're listening to this video.
Yeah. But
and Nintendo has lawyers.
Yeah, but
really good ones, I assume.
In general, if you got upset about a thing after like a day of something being out, here's a thought. Wait a couple days, because a lot of these were developing stories anyway, and you might want to find out if there's any actual truth to these beforehand, before you start deciding to get reactionary about it.
Exactly.
You know, the great part about how we don't record these videos as breaking news is happening?
Yep.
Is that we as much as we don't really do a whole ton of research often, we do have the ability to go, hey, we're going to be talking about this topic on Friday. And in the meantime, I've got a week to see all the videos that have come out, other people have done about the topics that we're going to be talking about, and be able to go, yeah, no, actually, someone else already did a really good video on this, and here are some points from that. Go check out the Some Ordinary Gamers video that he did, or the Yang video he did. If you want
the Hoglaw video, like we're labeling off other people who have covered this topic extensively. People who are more knowledgeable in these areas than we ever will be.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of game design, game mechanics, all that, and including from the law perspective.
Right. When I like originally saw the AI thing come out, I was like, well, terrible if true. But my immediate thought was stepping away from that, not really going to engage much with it, because I have a feeling that inside of another 2 or 3 days, there's going to be a lot of clarification on that. And what they actually mean by that might be good, might be bad, but let's not just jump to a bunch of conclusions. If there's any weight to it, I'm sure people will find out.
And even as we record and discuss this game is still 8 days old.
It's
in the next 7 days, more news could come out.
Absolutely.
I'm not saying we're going to cover it again next week.
No.
You know, but it's one of those, like, maybe down the line, maybe in a month or maybe 2 months, we'll look back at this and be like, all right, what's changed since then? Because even the game itself, with the updates they're putting out, this is going to be a different game in 2 to 3 months.
That's true.
And the biggest litmus test of this is, as we record this, it's Friday evening here in Hawaii, which means it's probably midnight where you guys are.
Yes.
So it's Saturday. How is this game going to perform this weekend? This will be the second weekend for this game.
Kind of make or break.
I've got Steam charts ready and going all weekend on my computer. It's just an open tab right now for Palworld. Currently, it has 1.578 million players online, and that is just on Steam. Again, its peak was earlier in the last 24 hours. It was 2,030,000 players.
And I think I've only seen it drop close to like over 1 million. I have not seen it drop over 1 million. I think during lunch today for me, it was at 1,020,000.
Yeah, I saw it at like 900,000 players earlier today, but it's gonna fluctuate. But for the most part, this entire week has been at minimum like 900,000 players.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
It's
and
impressive.
if we wanna like throw stuff at the wall, let Nintendo come after them. If they didn't have money before, they got money now.
Yeah. If there's anything to it, I'm sure Nintendo would be more than happy to look into it. Although I do get the feeling from just their statement and everything that they kind of know that there isn't really much to it.
I don't think much is going to come out.
No.
Like you said, this trailer came out 2 years ago. Nintendo, it's already been on Nintendo's radar.
And there's a mod
Steam
that
wouldn't
already
have
got
released
pulled.
it.
Yeah.
And Steam wouldn't have released it because Steam has a very good system when it comes to using assets that don't belong to them because it belongs to another IP.
Yeah,
right.
And if it had AI being used, Steam has a hardline stance against that as well. So, like, pretty sure it didn't use that.
This would be problematic.
I feel like the worst case scenario in regards to like a Nintendo litigation would be that maybe a few of their pals need to be changed.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a little too close to some of the other actual like
flying too close to the sun.
Yeah,
yes.
Maybe they're a little bit too close. So hey, you guys should probably change that because it's a little bit too on the nose.
Right.
But even then, you could the arguments to be made. Like we all know, Pokemon is based off of mostly in a lot of the classic gens. I don't know about today's gens because the forms are getting kind of ridiculous. Is that they're kind of based on real world creatures.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
either in real life or in mythology.
Yeah, I know there's
Yeah.
a few of them that look really similar to some other ones, like really similar to other ones, but like
Yeah, like
they're
the
changed up
the
a
big.
bit.
Okay, so let's say the big turtle out there in Palworld, which we'll get the name later. We'll put it on the screen later because I can't remember the name. I think the closest thing would be maybe Torkoal in Pokemon franchise. But even then, that dude's got what, like a volcano on his back or something? But if you're looking in terms of similarity, there might be another Pokemon that I'm thinking of.
I think there's a
with that spikes on the back of its shell.
Thing that's got like a blue with a cloud around it or something that looks really similar to like one of the legendary.
Tornadus?
No, I don't remember. There's someone that I was like, that's a lot closer than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I that's about all I can think would actually come out of it.
Yeah. I'm pretty much of the same mindset as you. I'm thinking what we'll do is that, like, I have a birthday in June. Around that time, I think we'll come back and we'll look at where Palworld is at. I think we'll come back at that point and see if anything actually came of all of this, because if it hasn't by then, then it hasn't at all.
It
ain't gonna happen by that point. And that will also be good to,
I think your initial prediction, Nathan, was that it would lose about 20% of the player base within the first couple weeks.
Something like that. I think I was saying like at the end of the month that it would go down.
Okay.
But
because we can put that on socials if this prediction came true or not.
That would be great.
I'm just saying, if their player base is an average of upwards 2 million players,
right,
20% is not a dent.
No, it's not a big thing. The reason I said that, too, was I figured that there would be about 20% of the players that were like, oh, it's like Pokemon, and then they realize, oh, it's actually not very much like Pokemon.
Yeah. And we don't even know how big the player base really is.
That's true.
Yeah.
We only know Steam's, which is 2 million, even though they sold 8 million, allegedly, because we don't know for a fact.
Right.
You know, if maybe somebody bought duplicates, I mean, that still generated a sale.
Right.
But they said that they sold 8 million copies of the game.
Right.
On Steam.
Yeah.
But only 2 million people are playing on Steam.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, no, my prediction, like I was talking to Alex, was just that after about a month, you'd probably see a pretty steep drop-off in sales and concurrent player count. Mostly just because everybody's got a lot of hype around it right now, and they're enjoying it right now. I just didn't know if, like, more than half the population would have long-term goals, like they come back to it occasionally, but wouldn't be playing it all the time.
I think that's going to depend on Palworld and its developers.
Yes, and what they do to update it.
The updates and how they keep their content fresh.
Right.
And if they put out more of a concrete roadmap. I think they kind of put like a little bit of thing, but it's more like a blurb than a roadmap.
It's going to have
to do with their current one was just kind of a, hey, this is huge. We're gonna making sure people know that they are actively doing things.
Right.
And they actually are. And I think this actually is more huge than they thought. I don't think they thought they would have sold 8 million copies in
I don't think so.
I
know
if anybody did. I definitely didn't.
That's basically they basically sold 1 million copies a day.
Yeah.
I know they were doing. I guess they were doing pretty hard hitting with the marketing for it ahead of time, but like, I don't think anyone expected this.
No,
absolutely not.
No.
Like, as gamers, we didn't expect this to be as big as it was. I'm sure they didn't expect it. I'm sure they knew that they're like, this is probably going to be pretty big, but like, I was saying before, I looked at the Steam charts of Craftopia, their previous game, which I have like 60 hours in, which the all-time highest users on that game was only around 26,000.
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you about that game. Was that the first game from the studio? That's my first question.
I don't think so. They have at least one more in development, and then they have the AI Art Imposter, but I don't know which came out first. They have another game that is Hollow Knight inspired, I guess.
Nevergrave, I'm seeing that.
Yep.
The Witch and the Curse, yeah. They did Craftopia, they did AI Imposter, and something called Over Dungeon, which is a real-time card battle game. So they've done that. They've gotten heavily inspied by other genres.
That happens.
It does. It
so
does.
there's something I want to leave for the viewers of YouTube or wherever you consume this podcast. With the success of this game in 8 days, do you think, and this goes to you both as well, do you think we will see this game nominated at either the Game Awards or the Steam Awards towards the end of this calendar year?
I was thinking about that.
I think Steam Awards, definitely, if people don't forget about it by the end of the year.
And again, that's dependent on the developers.
Yeah, and with 2 million concurrent players currently as a high peak, second only to PUBG in Steam history currently. Also, hopefully we can push that number up and kick PUBG out of that top 1 spot this weekend.
I'm
that
hoping
would
for
be
that. I'll
incredible.
do my part this weekend to play.
Yeah,
that would be incredible to me. That would be so crazy.
I'd like.
But
to see
given
that,
I think the Steam Awards definitely could be nominated for most innovative. That would be hilarious and a better troll than Starfield.
If it kept up this pace, do you think Game of the Year contender, or at least nominee?
Who knows?
Maybe in Steam Awards, but I don't honestly think that the Game Awards will put it in the category.
Yeah, Yahtzee did a really good semi-ramblemmatic, I think he did, about the Game Awards.
You discern what's going to be
about how you discern what's going to win and what'll be in it. And the Game Awards doesn't tend to like indie games.
Yeah.
As we've seen with this last season, but we won't get into
that.
So if you want to go with like best indie game at the Game Awards, 100%. Yeah, I think this wholeheartedly could take that category.
It might at least get in there, but I don't know. The only other thing that could be a factor is if Nintendo really did have a chip on its shoulder about the game, and they didn't want to piss off Nintendo by having it in the awards. So again, that would also be a factor, like what Nintendo does, or if they have any problem with this. If Nintendo comes back and they're kind of like going, nah, it's fine, it's cool, nothing really problematic there. I think it has a better chance.
It's fine. We just spent the year cooking. Wait till you see what we come out with next gen.
Yeah, because they don't really want it. I think, especially places like the Game Awards, they don't really want to piss off Nintendo if it's something that's controversial to them. That would be a factor. Steam Awards, sure. Yeah, Steam Awards would probably clean up all the categories. It will get all the things. It gotta catch all the Steam Awards.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know in the comments down below. Do you think it's going to pick up anything, and what would it pick up? And again, also recency bias. Again, we should also mention that it's coming out at the very beginning of the year. So by the time we get to the end, who knows? I think we can release the KlaytonCalix back into the wild.
I was thinking about butchering him, but I guess that's not the meta these days.
I don't know if you're allowed to do that.
It's censored. Don't worry.
I think it's frowned upon, actually.
What resources does KlaytonCalix drop?
Farming goods.
Farming goods. Ooh,
yep.
Okay.
Also, I hear coconuts are in great supply.
Ooh, coconuts. Coconut oil.
How do you think I get my internet?
Coconut mail?
It's
the
also
whole Gilligan's Island thing. You got the two coconuts strapped together as a wireless
It's
receiver.
how we do the Foley
plug my
work.
Computer into the coconut.
It's how we do the Foley work for the horse
for.
type pals.
Did you ever know what those 3 holes in the coconut were for? Those are to plug your thing into.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Plug. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you put your outlet into the coconut. That's why they got those
that
little
thing.
holes.
I did. Okay, you had to clarify that.
Titanium was thinking something totally different.
Something like, wow. Okay.
Wow. Hope that.
Jeez. Okay.
On that note,
I'll never look at a coconut the same way again. I'm going to look at it even more. Anyway, thank you so much to KlaytonCalix for coming on the show today.
Yes, welcome to our show for the first of potentially more times.
There you go.
I look forward to it. Actually,
Yeah.
it's been a long time coming. We've been wanting to do this together for a long time, and we've just been trying to find the right thing. And I think with the release of Palworld and the fact that all three of us are addicted to this game, we found the perfect avenue.
It is great confluence. We have
Now we just need to make a Total Pebble Knockdown server for it and make it so Hawaii doesn't ping.
That's true.
Name it Total Palworld.
Total Pal Knockdown.
Total Pal Knockdown.
Total Pal Knockdown. Yeah.
Buddy.
So we tell us if you want that. Also, feel free to check us out on a wonderful website. Alex, what website do we have?
You can find us over at TotalPebbleKnockdown.com. It will be changing in the near future to look slightly different, so don't be alarmed, but it'll still be there.
It'll still be there. You'll still be able to go there. You'll still be able to get to stuff. In fact, you'll even be able to get to our Patreon. You can click on the little Patreon banner. You get additional stuff that we don't usually give to the normals. We give to the special Patreon stuff that I say it's the crap that we wouldn't put in the episode, or you could call it exclusive content. You get that. You get the shows early. So feel free to check us out over there. And check us out on every podcast app known to mankind. Rate and review and subscribe where applicable. And make sure to check us out on the ever-increasing hellscape that is social media. I am at Titanium.
I am at EXP Limited. And our show is at Public Knockdown. And Klayton, where can people find you in all of your places that you are on?
So I'm on most socials as KlaytonCalix. KlaytonCalix.
Should be underneath you somewhere on the screen.
Depending on the social media platform, it may or may not have an underscore in between or a space in between. But I'm generally there. You can find me on X there. You can find me on Mastodon, Threads. Actually, not on Threads, just that. But most places. And you can find me on Twitch under Klayton_Calix.
Yes, you do a lot of streaming over there.
Yes, where I do streaming Monday through Friday, generally from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time.
And you have been streaming a certain game we were talking about. So.
Oh, yes.
Yes, very much so. So check him out over there.
Tell him TPK sent you, too.
Tell him TPK sent you.
There you go.
And shoot his pals.
Maybe I'll name a pal after you.
Oh,
yeah, there you go.
That's great. I need a pal. I need pals in general, so that'll be good. Are there any pals that look like coconuts? Ooh.
No,
I don't think so.
I don't know, but I haven't filled out the whole pal deck yet.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
I know, I found the one that looks like a giant bear with a leaf on its head, though.
Oh, I like that one.
That one's really good at what it does.
Moss Panda?
Yeah.
Ferocious, too.
Yeah.
Did you read the description for it? They're so ridiculous.
No, I didn't.
That one's like, it's so incredibly strong it can tear apart 3,000 pages of paper all at once.
Nice.
It's like, by some miracle, it's not a meat eater.
Which is interesting.
I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Some of the descriptions are great. It's definitely tapping into the ridiculousness of the fact, like, it's definitely inspired by some of the more ridiculous Pokemon entries.
Yeah. They definitely did that. to model it after some of the very, very strange ones they had in Pokemon.
Anyways.
But anyway, so we're off to go and catch some other pals and spheres, and in the meantime, thank you for joining us. We will see you on the next episode, and goodbye for now, pals.
Forever, I'm going to be playing Palworld until the cows come home.
Until the heat death of the universe?
I don't have
power
any
goes
cows.
off.
Until the power
Until someone cuts the power.
Yeah, exactly. The PAL industrial complex that you've...
Indeed.
Alright. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you later.
Bye.